Welcome, everybody. Whatever time zone or time stream you're joining us from across the Whooniverse, welcome back to our TARDIS. As we're gearing up towards the end of another week, a week in the Whooniverse. I thought this one was going to be quiet-ish. I was really wrong. It's not died down, has it? So much to talk about, lots to get into, lots to unpack, I think, is the word that they use. Can we make sense of any of it between us? We'll soon find out, won't we, over the next couple of hours. With me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks and seeker of truths this time. Because, yes, the Whooniverse has been belching and bubbling and farting out all sorts of things over the last 7 days, since the last time that we spoke, since that fantastic Tom Baker tribute show, the big birthday party we staged for the governor last week. Thank you again to everybody who was watching, who contributed, bless your hearts, who was commenting, who's dropped comments afterwards too, and who shared the show. It's really travelled, and we've had some lovely feedback in the last week or so. None from Tom yet. He did know about it beforehand, but none from Tom yet. We're still waiting. We'll keep you informed on that. But yeah, thanks to everybody for all the interaction there. It is really appreciated. And thanks to everybody who's already in the chat. We've got a live chat full of fellow companions, Doctor Who fans from all over the world, and doubtless a couple of other worlds beaming in. We'll see if we can work out who's who as we're going along. Let's see who's. Oh, they're stretching all the way back. Lots of highs and hellos, and oh yeah, time for the tune, says Richard Brooks. That amazing tune, courtesy of the ridiculously talented Problem Being. Go and check out his YouTube channel for more sights and sounds from the vortex there from Problem Being. Hi, Peter Harrington. Hello. And evening peeps, says Mr. Brown. Here we go, says Lord Thoth. Here we go. Indeed. So much to get into, so much to talk about when we open the double doors of the TARDIS there. Who knows what's going to fall out first? Or who? Well, I say who knows. I know. It can be one of only three people. Who's going to be first? Who's going to be first? Yes, let's bring her on first. It's our good friend, Charlotte Shields.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, hiya, Charlotte. You okay?
Yeah, just we're going to have a fun one tonight, I think, for multiple reasons.
Where shall we start? Yeah, because this is what I often term as Doctor Who silly season. Because generally speaking, this time of year, more often than not, there's not a great deal going on. And in the Doctor Who community, I find that what people don't know, they make up. And so we get all manner of stuff coming out. But the thing is, this time, though, Charlotte, some of it just may, have a grain of truth to it. And fortunately for you and I, we have two people, TV industry and entertainment insiders, who are going to join us on the panel tonight. And you can probably I feel very underdressed in the presence of the one and only Mr. JT and the original lunatic, Mr. Simon Horton.
Hello, Facebookers. Hello, industry insiders. I don't know if I like that term or not.
JT, I'm not sure. I don't think the world should know about that.
Well, exactly. I'm thinking, oh no, matron. Hello, Facebookers. How are we all doing? Good to see you.
There they all are. Shall we have a look in the chat and see who else
yes, let's probe
their next couple of hours with us? There, Grand Moff Miranda says, tune, another compliment there for
it is
the
tune.
Music.
It is a good one.
Hail
the
chat
PD
from PD Rich. Yeah.
Hello,
And
PD.
lots of hellos. Always good to see these. Lots and lots of names. Some new names, some not so new names, but always very welcome names.
Everybody.
Evening Facebook. Evening, lovely people in the chat. Everybody slapping one another on the back and passing around the nuts and the jelly babies, all that kind of thing, in honour of Tom. And of course, we are streaming. We're streaming this live, as always, to YouTube, because it's the world's largest streaming platform. Of course we are.
Is it really?
Apparently so.
Wow.
So they say. And yeah, we're also streaming live over onto Facebook, to the Type 40 Facebook group and Facebook page. So everybody over there, hello, good to see you too. Can you hear us?
Everybody.
Hello.
We
Wherever
have
you are.
a nice comment here from a Facebook user who says, rumours? That never happens. Sarcasm. Yes, this is the Doctor Who universe. Of course there's rumours. But it's only fair that we have to say that at the moment, people on Facebook, if you don't let StreamYard know, click the little tab there. It should be in blue and in bold. If you let StreamYard know who you are, StreamYard will tell Facebook, Facebook will tell us, and then we'll all be on first named terms, and it's all lovely and cozy while we're picking our way through the latest round of absolute insanity. Crimpling the Balloons also here. Always good to see you. As is Doc Martin. He's obviously been axed that, so he's retired, and yeah.
It's great to see everybody, isn't it? It's great. Charlotte used the word Type 40 Live community, and it really is Spacebookers, isn't it? It's lovely to see everybody.
It is. It's like. Oh, do I dare use the F word? It's like fam, isn't it?
No,
Get him!
Oh dear. Well, that does segue in quite nicely to the first thing I think we have to talk about, because I think we have to come back to this because we were talking about this way before everybody else. So I'm talking about this moment. Of course, I am now. Jodie Whittaker, who allegedly,
good time, Dan.
allegedly has been playing the Doctor on Doctor Who. I'm still, whatever. I'm not seeing any evidence myself. But as we all know, she's about to depart the role over the next few months in the centenary special for the BBC's 100th anniversary, which is supposed to be airing sometime in October. Now, of course, we were here on the night talking to you guys live, and I think we were wiping away one another's tears, weren't we? It was an emotional evening.
Yeah, tears of happiness. Tears of happiness.
And as the months have rolled on, we've been throwing out ideas, haven't we, about the inevitable moment when that woman is going to be seen to be burst into flames, and someone new will be stood in their place. But have you heard this speculation? Because we've been talking about this over the months, that we may not actually get to see that moment in all its glory. There are rumours out there, the story that, yes, a regeneration has been filmed, or at least half of one. But the current rumours are, as put about by the newspapers, that perhaps we won't see anything on the other side, that it could be left completely open-ended. Now, do you remember, JT, we did talk about this several months ago, didn't we?
We did, and who cares? I mean, the whole thing about this is really... If it is open-ended, you guys will know that's my preference. I just wanted it cut because, from a Doctor Who point of view, should the next era of Doctor Who be something that we all like, we can write this one off a bit easier. But I mean, dramatically, to fade to black, it works. It's proven on a lot of shows through television history. It's even been proven in theatre. You can fade to black, and it will work, and you can have that cliffhanger edge, and then you can come back with the fresh, because they have to reboot it, don't they? So I'm really not interested, I have to be honest.
Simon?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this literally for months, saying that we fully expect to not see the other side, that we expect to see the regeneration happen, but not see who the new Doctor is. I must be honest, the more I think about it now, JT, you're right. What we really want here is some closure, as in this is a very marked end of an era. And the way to do that, I think, that's a frightful dress she's wearing. Sorry.
I just thought exactly that as well. I thought, what is she?
But the more I think about it, what I would actually like to see happen is that we don't see any regeneration at all, because I don't actually want any continuity with this terrible era and the next one. So what I'd like to see actually is an ending more like Survival, where she just walks quietly off into the sunset and bye Jodie. This is going to sound really, really terrible, but in my opinion, okay, I'm girding my loins for this.
Oh,
she doesn't deserve to be seen to regenerate into another Doctor. I'm sorry, shoot me, but that's how I feel.
I know what you mean, and I agree with that. If they did a Survival type thing where she walked off into the sunset, as it were.
Bye, Jodie.
Yes, and it's nice for the Jodie fans. It's nice for those of not Jodie fans. It reboots it again. It starts.
It gives it a break. It gives it a proper break.
I'd always be very worried as well, because deep down in me, I do feel that Russell Don't Drop the T Davis is going to honor this and continue it in some way, and she'll always be in the consistency when there's flashbacks and all that nonsense. But that means that the whole era and its nonsense is there as well, rather than a brand new fresh start. And I know as part of this show we're going to be talking about the production news that's coming through, that the drips and drabs that is coming through. I am very feared at the moment, Scottish word, very feared at the moment, that we may not be getting that fresh start, Simon, that you said all about all those months ago,
I mean, I think it's interesting that you mentioned survival, because there was, even though that was a kind of makeshift end to the series, it's not that dissimilar to what we're talking about, what we're suggesting. There was a quiet dignity, I think, in how Doctor Who left the screen in 1989.
Yes.
More so. Do you know, none of us wanted it to happen. None of us wanted it to happen, whether we were completely in love with the McCoy era or not. I don't think any of us wanted it to happen, but
no, we didn't.
I think there was a dignity to it. What do you think, Charlotte? Have you ever seen the final episode of Survival? You must have seen that sequence.
Yes.
Several times when they walk away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. I've seen the whole episode and I quite actually like it. No, but I think creatively, this is such an interesting start for a new Doctor that we're not going to have that instant, oh, I've just regenerated, so I'm going to be scatty, I'm going to be all over the place, which we've had for 3 previous Doctors now. So it would be nice actually to have the sort of Eccleston sort of approach that we had with Eccleston, where he's just there.
Absolutely.
And you can tell he's lived so much of his life off screen. And I think so then you're not going to have that finding yourself first episodisms.
Especially in the 60th, Charlotte. I mean, you can't have a Doctor running around in his 60th anniversary year going, who am I? Who am I? I mean, it didn't work in the 96 movie, really. You can't really have him, I'm saying him, you can't have him running around in his 60th anniversary year going, who am I? Because the public are just going to go, give us the celebration.
What you want to do, you're right, Charlotte, you want to literally just hit the ground running with an entirely new start, fresh start. Obviously, there'll be a new theme arrangement, there'll be a new title sequence, there'll be a new logo. Yeah, exactly. That's what we need. So that's why I'm praying that we actually don't see regeneration at all. It just ends. She's just gone.
Russell T Davies has said so little, but every time he does speak, you know what? Just like you, JT, he uses the word he as well. He does.
Oh, really?
He does. And it was on BBC Writers. If you can find it, Simon, on the BBC Writers YouTube channel, he did an interview, and the thing that was interesting, when he did the interview, Jodie was the Doctor. So it wasn't an old interview.
Interesting.
It was when Jodie was the Doctor, and he a number of times referred to the Doctor as he. He's this, he's like that.
Lots of the writers do.
Let's be careful with that, though. So Spacebookers, don't be taking this and going off and starting rumours like some YouTubers do, because you know we're not that sort of show. But I mean, that could just be because he's of a certain age, like we do. We are, and we say because that's how we're programmed. You know, and in this mad age where you can be a frog, or identify as a frog, or a licorice, or I
do want Kermit for the Doctor. I've got to say, Wendology, that is superb. You're quoting the cut from Aliens.
What's Wendology said in the chat there, Simon? What does she say?
She says they need to nuke the site from orbit. Only way to be sure. It's one of my favourite lines from Aliens. Brilliant, thank you.
Paul Murray also says it's a good way for a clean slate. I mean, for all that we feel about what's directly happened in the last 3 or 4 years, creatively, it's not really a bad place to be either, is it, guys?
Creatively, no. I mean, we don't know what's going on over there, but certainly, if you are creative and you're told you've got to get this show back on track, it's got to make money, it's got to be popular, we want the spin-offs, we want its own channel, we want multi-platforms, blah 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 blah, I would say, right, let's reboot the thing,
reboot it. Let's sort it out.
Yeah.
Well, this is what's been in the papers this week. It's in the mainstream media. This is broken through to the mainstream media, and it says here that Doctor Who's Jodie Whittaker could be denied the farewell regeneration scene when she leaves after ratings hit a new low. She's had mixed success. It's now accepted, everybody, that it's mixed success. We may get to the truth that it's been a disaster in the next 12 months, who knows? So it's no great surprise to learn that Jodie Whittaker may not be seen regenerating into her successor when her final moments as the Time Lord air later this year. Now, that's very specific, isn't it? Because we have been saying this that yes, her half has been filmed, but actually regenerating, actively seen later in this year to be regenerating into her successor is an outside chance, that because they simply haven't pulled the production together yet. Later on in the show, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we actually know that are largely set in stone about the production, and certain people who've been appointed or reappointed back to Doctor Who. But with this change, this is only something that we have said over and over again. I'd say certainly, if not since the night that Whittaker's departure was announced, certainly since Bad Wolf entered the frame and Russell T Davies took the big seat again.
It's always interesting with these newspaper articles like that one there, that headline. Firstly, I'm going to say, ouch, because those headlines are read by the great British public, and that hurts. That, if I was taking over this show now, I'd be squirming. I really am. I mean, as a fan now, I go, oh God, you know, it's really, really good. But secondly, it's always interesting to me, because we know, and we've said on this show before that, we know that alleged journalists, hi guys, have a nice evening, scour Facebook and Twitter and shows like this for points about what the fans think, and then they print it and say, "Oh, this source, you know, this is blah 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 blah." So, what came first there, the chicken or the egg? Was the article first, or was it from a fan point of view? Interesting, you know, because we're not going to get to the bottom of that one, but you know, that's how the press works now. Because it's column fillers, isn't it? It's just that's what they're doing. But bad headlines for Russell and the new team, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting because who has just said it was gone too fast for me to notice that it worked for Troughton, and it absolutely did work for Troughton. Somebody's just commented to say, yeah, and you're right. Whoever it was, sorry, I've lost your comment.
It was Doc Martin who said it worked at the end of Troughton's era.
You're right.
It worked for Eccleston as well. Eccleston just said, bang, here's Eccleston, that's the Doctor, get on with it, and whoosh, the boy, did they get on with it.
But the point being, at the end of Survivor, as we talked about, there was nothing planned with. Well, what was planned was that it was never coming back again. Whereas with Troughton, they knew it was coming back, and I think I'd have to go back and check this. They probably knew at that point that it was Pertwee, but they still elected to have a completely clean.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think they cast him. I think they were still in the casting processes.
To him, weren't they? They were talking to him at the time. It was close. Yeah. It was a close thing.
But certainly there was an intent. They knew it was coming back. They absolutely knew it was coming back, and they still chose to make that completely clean break at the end of the War Games, and it works perfectly for it. And it just
cliffhanger.
Yes, and you do end up then at the beginning of the John Pertwee era with an entirely new reboot because it looks like a completely different show
in colour.
Yeah, in colour and everything.
Digby Strawbridge says it's a good idea, folks. Make it detachable.
Yeah,
but isn't that for me though? That says a lot about what possibly, if this rumour is to be believed, what the current team think of the Chibnall era. That they do not want to be attached to it if this happens.
And the thing is, Charlotte, I'm not in any doubt whatsoever that Chris Chibnall and Russell T Davies will have to be communicating because I'm almost certain that Chibnall will be sort of deferential to Russell T Davies in that if Russell says, look, I want this or I want that, Chibnall's going to have to go with it. So if Russell says, I want a clean end, I don't want a regeneration, I don't think Chibnall really would have a great deal of choice on that one.
But let's just clarify
for the people out there Simon,
for the people out there that don't know, JT, production was shut down on that era of Doctor Who with that team. This team we've got on screen, they are long gone, and this set has been dismantled. In fact, I know somebody who is working at the BBC who actually has part of that set in their flat. It is not together anymore. It is out of production. And Mr. Russell T Davies is effectively in with Bad Wolf. That is all being put together. We're going to talk about that.
That's why I would say that, Simon, as well, that I don't think that's happened because they finished last year. Russell, Julie, and Jane, and everybody have come in this year. I don't think there would have been any crossover.
So you don't think there would have been any crossover?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all gone because, of course, they were all released from contract last year. And on that very point, it's very interesting to see that some of the Chibnall era production crew have now appeared on Twitter, and some of the things they are saying. Listen, you guys are supposed to be professional.
What are they saying?
Really?
They are very, very defensive over their own era. Now, I get that from a professional point of view. They've put a lot of work and time into it. I understand it. But be professional, be courteous. And if you're not going to take any flack, if you don't want to know about the negativity, don't go on Twitter and announce you were in the previous series. And you know what gets me about it as well? So far, the ones I've seen, every single one of them is a personal pronoun loving person. Now that says a lot to me about people on a particular show when they have to go all this nonsense on their Twitter. Oh, go away, please.
Whereas JT, we spoke a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, about Danny Hargreaves, the special effects god who's been on the show since 2006 and now has this amazing career working on Expendables movies as well, and all this, but has still remained with BBC Cymru and on Doctor Who. You know, he's no longer there now, but he posted something sweet and dignified and very properly inclusive in the traditional sense, Simon. It was really, really warm, wasn't it, Charlotte? And quite old school, I think, when you read things like that compared to this.
Well, he is old school.
Tirade. Yeah,
Yes, he is.
To some of the other ones who seem very angry, don't they, Charlotte? A lot of them seem very angry.
Well, yeah, and you've got to also take into account, I think, for some of these people, they wouldn't have worked on previous eras. They would have just worked on the Jodie era, whereas Danny was part of the Russell era. He was part of Moffat's era, so he won't be just defensive over one set of episodes or era, because he can claim the whole of New Who, and that is a completely different outlook. And that I think that's probably also played into why he had such a, like you said, dignified sort of I didn't want to antagonize anybody. It was just I loved having my job. I finished now. See what happens in the future. Like
that's probably because he's got no agenda, and he's not trying to make some big political point about how we need, you know.
We have a comment up on screen which really interests me from Aidan McGear, who says, "Tell me, did the modern series, so new Doctor Who, ever really reference the 6th and 7th Doctor's eras, given they were the eras most people dropped off with and disliked back then? They're usually not acknowledged since." I'd noticed this. This had dawned on me in the last couple of weeks too, because there are rumours about the involvement of certain people in the Centenary special. Aidan's right, isn't he? It was as if the classic show, and I understand why Russell did this, and Philip Segal for that matter, even though Sylvester is in that, it's still got this sort of Tom Baker era kind of edge to it, but particularly Russell's reinterpretation and realignment of the show.
But the modern series
stopped in 1982 or 83 or something.
But the modern series, they did reference 6th and the 7th Doctors. In what was it called? The name of the Doctor? The 6th Doctor actually walks past Clara, if you remember. It's not Colin.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of story references. I think there's some imagery, obviously, with
but that's a good thing. That's a good thing in my eyes. You know, I've said this before on this show. It's a very fan thing to want to reference something that was done 50 years ago. It's not a public thing. And let the fondness go, because in the public's memory, whoever's playing the Doctor at the time has to be the same one that they grew up with. So it has to be Tom, it has to be John, it has to be Bill Hartnell. That's another reason that the current iteration failed, because it wasn't even the same gender. So, you know, it's a real case of, you know, you've got to have that believable, I'm still the same character you grew up with as a kid. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. And the more distance you put between that, the more work you ask us to do as the audience member, Charlotte, the more we're tasked to do, the more it begins to feel like a chore to watch the show, when you're fighting your instincts and you're wrestling with your own emotions, and the thing that you've loved for 5, 10, 20, 30 years is actively pushing you away. That's the truth of it, Charlotte.
Yeah, and I think also you can, even though I think about this with the Master, for example, I love the character, but I think we've sort of done to death Master storylines at this point.
Yeah.
And we really need to put that character to bed for 5-10 years. And then when you can come back in 5-10 years, we've sort of had that distance, so we've grown maybe a bit nostalgic again, and keep repeating the same characters, the same sort of things again and again.
Again, year in, year out. As I scroll through the chat, everybody, again, thank you to everybody who's watching live on YouTube and Facebook and sharing us and all the rest. Got some great comments, but generally, the feeling is mostly the same. I mean, we've got some people who are a bit more kind of live and let live about it, but generally, a lot of people agree with Digby Strawbridge here, who says, surely, though, Russell T Davies needs to put distance between this train wreck and his version to effectively re-establish the show in the schedule, to attract people's eyes, just the basics of sitting down, Simon, turning the TV on, sitting down at a given time, because Doctor Who, there's no reason, even in the streaming age, why Doctor Who can't be appointment to view TV again. It's that.
No, absolutely. I think it absolutely can be, and I think people will tune in for that opening Russell T Davies episode. The thing that I keep on coming back to, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are concerned, and I know because we've seen it in the chat before now, and this is not something that concerns me, but there are a lot of people that are concerned that it's just the show is now doomed, it's gone too far, it's ruined, etc., etc. Now, the way to look at it is this. In every single era of the show, without exception, once you get a new Doctor, to be honest, people forget about the previous Doctor incredibly quickly. People move on, people recalibrate. So all I'm saying is that the Jodie era, I honestly think, will be forgotten very, very quickly.
Well, it's already forgotten.
I don't think
I've certainly forgotten the episode. I've forgotten what happened in the episodes that I watched less than 2 months ago.
There you go.
Yeah, well, listen,
throughout history, as soon as you start a new Doctor, people are just excited about the new Doctor, and they don't care about the old era. Even when Tom Baker, who we talked about ad nauseum last week, Tom Baker, the most popular Doctor ever. But Peter Davison came in with an impossible job, and still it was the ratings for Peter Davison were enormous, and he was hugely popular. And people forgot Tom Baker. So trust me, they'll forget Jodie Whittaker.
It's slightly different this time around for a couple of reasons. As I say, and I'm not joking, the public have already forgotten this era because they weren't watching it anyway. I don't care what Doctor Who magazine says. I don't care what the Jodie Whittaker fans said. The ratings proved that the British public was not on board. They rejected the format of the show. So in a sense, that style, that bit's going to be easier, because I agree, Simon. I think as long as the casting is right, and they will market this to death next year, I think the public will come back. On the other side, though, you're going to have this other thing that the BBC is in trouble, and there are no license. The license fee holders have gone down, and they're going down. They're going down. We know the situation now with the BBC.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they're gonna. The license is going. Let's face it, it's going to go in the next 10, 15 years. So there's not that many people watching BBC anyway. You've got EastEnders, because of its woke storylines, I believe, has alienated the British public. It's getting 2 to 3 million. That's going to get slaughtered because Coronation Street is going to an hour, 5 days a week on ITV at the same time as EastEnders.
People can't relate to EastEnders anymore, and they're not and therefore they're not engaged by it and not entertained by it, and yet they are by Coronation Street. I don't watch any of those shows. I've seen it for quite a long time, but there's clearly been a big divide between the two shows. For one, to creatively, and in terms of popular success, to be seemingly going up and up, and the other one hitting all-time lows.
Absolutely.
And you have to look at these things evenly and think, okay, well, it must be a culture within the corporation that is producing the material. One would think.
That's going to be the challenge for Bad Wolf and BBC Studios now, because they're going to have to make a Doctor Who that brings the audience back to the BBC. Now, that's the biggest challenge. And I think that's why the casting has to be right. The stories have to be right. The money has to be right to make the shows look good. You might not even get a series. We might get a series of 4 films throughout a year. They might change the whole thing. We don't know. But I think part of that now is especially with supporters of the BBC working on Doctor Who for obvious reasons, but obviously because they really do love it. That's their biggest challenge. So forget the Chris Chibnall era. That's very easy to do. Get the show rebooted, and let's see if Doctor Who can try and save the BBC. Personally, I don't think it can.
Well, talking about supporters of things, I think I agree with everything you've just said. Talking about supporters of things, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching live on Facebook and YouTube at the moment. All the comments, please keep them coming. Mark Milford says, Doctor Who Type 40 Life, best show on Doctor Who. Now, if you agree with Mark, and why wouldn't you? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel too, because we do this sort of thing all the time. You're not going to want to miss the next one. So subscribe to the channel and hit the little cloister bell so you get the notifications about when we're going to be doing it next, what we're going to be talking about next, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a long form video or shorter one. You don't want to miss it. There's lots coming out of the channel at the moment. Some is Doctor Who related and some not, but it's all with the same eye for all things geeky. Stay tuned for that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let's look back in the comment section, see what everybody else says.
Let's see what the Facebookers are saying. What are they saying? What are they saying?
People still living down the console room set there.
Yeah,
and agreeing with one another as well as us. Yeah,
I mean, great.
Different things the console looks like. It's
I have no idea what that means, Peter.
No, you don't want to know, Jota.
No, probably not.
Creative ideas about what they think should happen. When the series picks up again.
This is the good side of stuff at the moment because everybody's getting, I don't know if excited's too over emotional, but we're all getting that vibe now of what could be, and it was like this in 2003, 2004. What will the TARDIS look like? Who will be the Doctor? What will he wear? What will the logo be? What will these little things that we as fans share about our beloved show? And it's all starting to creep back in now. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to say to Daniel Leach, Daniel's just said there, Dan, I'm going to say to you, there's not a chance. Not a chance.
Daniel Leach is there. Good to see you, Daniel. He says to the BBC, you should hire JT because he talks so much sense. That's probably why they won't.
Exactly. Well, can you imagine me? I'd go in and say, right, you're all sacked. Get out.
The who's and what's, Charlotte, about what may or may not be coming have very much been what the media has been talking about and the fan base have been talking about over the last few days, haven't they? And one person in particular, we've got several people who have been discussed, mooted, I think that's the word, isn't it? With this bookies odds and all these kinds of things are put out there.
Say that again.
Bookies odds.
No, mooted. Say mooted.
Oh, mooted.
Ooh.
Mooted. There we are. Mooted, who are mooted, and the bookies apparently offer odds on these things. Now, some of the names I was expecting to see, and some of them I wasn't. But the one, Kermit for the Doctor. But the one person I think that's surprised, actually, I don't think it's surprised people, but the fact that the rumour, that the idea has stayed around for as long as it has, nearly a full week already, that's what's sort of taken me aback. Because yes, if you have read the newspapers, seen the internet, even social media, everybody's talking about, could this really be? Could David Tennant? Is David Tennant the Doctor? Has David Tennant?
Well, I like that suit.
Yeah, I like the suit. And look, I didn't even know this photo's on, but I've got the blue suit on. It's not quite as sexy as David's, but it's blue. It's blue.
Yeah, he's still very, very thin, isn't he? By the look of his legs there. Jesus, dream type. Have a Mars bar, David, for Christ's sake.
When the panel dressed to match the graphics, that's when you know you've got a YouTube show that goes next level. Okay, so this story was absolutely everywhere. It was everywhere, Simon, to the point where it was quite difficult to find out where it had actually come from.
I've not seen this at all. This is entirely new news to me.
Okay, so good. I saw it as reported by the Mirror. Now, as we know, the Mirror, it has to be accepted. The Mirror generally, in the life of New Who, have a great track record for getting this stuff right. They've done it time after time, right from almost day one, time after time after time. I always say they told us that Bradley Walsh was going to be Jodie Whittaker's companion nearly a full year before the BBC announced that he'd been cast. And that's just one example of probably dozens, certainly into
told us Jodie Whittaker was leaving the show on January last year because we had our reaction show to that. Remember? And that was several months before the official announcement from the BBC.
Yeah. And so when I saw the Mirror were putting this out, I thought, blimey, But when you read the Mirror's article, what they actually said was that they got it from that the Sun was reporting it. Now, when you bring the Sun into the equation, I know a great many people view them as being the same thing, the Sun and the Mirror, but they're not. They may both have red and white mastheads, but they are not the same paper. They come from a different place, and they get their stories, I think, from different sources too. So, okay, back to the Sun. But when you trace it back to the Sun, we then notice that the Sun haven't broken this story either. They'd got it from from the Plymouth Herald, believe it or not. So tracing all the way back from the Plymouth Herald. And so obviously I did what everybody who's got way too much time on their hands would do. I went and I looked at the Plymouth Herald, Charlotte, and do you know what they said?
Go on.
Did they got a random BBC source, didn't they?
Fan site.
Even worse. Even worse. Well, I say even worse. Now,
what, Twitter?
It was
Facebook, believe it or not. So, okay, it says they say here that the tip-off was spotted on a Facebook fan page. Now, we have a lovely Facebook Type 40 community. We do, and we do have people in there that are connected with various things in the show, either active or not so active and lurking, but we know they're there, and we're really grateful to have them there. However, I think we're all aware, most people who participate in this kind of conversation on any social media platform know when we are speculating and having fun amongst ourselves. And just about every possible casting suggestion has probably been put out there through Facebook, hasn't it, Charlotte? But yeah, the Plymouth Herald picked this up from a Facebook group, an unnamed Facebook group.
Brilliant.
But what they're saying is, though, the line that they're drawing, Simon, is that the same person who posted this also leaked the casting of Sacha Dhawan as the Master well over a year ago. You think,
so it must be right.
Must be.
Yeah. Tenuous. Right. But the idea is, the simple idea is that it depends on how they word it. Some people are saying, some sites, some newspapers are saying that Tennant has been cast as the 14th Doctor, whereas others, and there's a big difference, are just saying that Tennant is coming back for that 60th anniversary. Simple question is, Charlotte, do you think there could be any truth in this, and would you be down for it if it happened?
I don't think he's the 14th Doctor. There's not a cat in hell's chance that he's the 14th Doctor. I think if you're being very kind and very, very kind, I think this could be crossed wires and somebody's got information actually about the 60th. And it's just been it's Chinese whispers. It's changed and changed and changed until it's come to he's the 14th Doctor. And because I honestly think the 60th is going to be a nostalgia fest. And I think it would make sense that Tennant is going to probably be the centre point because it's Russell. And because Tennant was so popular.
Yeah, true. JT, there's no smoke without fire, is there? Although this seems outlandish and ridiculous. And as Charlotte says, Tennant being cast as the 14th proper Doctor seems incredibly unlikely.
But this just illustrated what I was just saying there about the papers trolling through fan pages and whether on social media. And if that's where they've got the source from, it means absolutely nothing. I think it's a great opportunity for the new team to start afresh with a new person in the lead role. I don't think the 60th will be that much of a look back. Why? The show can't afford to look back at this moment. I see various fans going on about, Jodie's coming back for the 60th. No, she's not, because that's next year, and she's only just gone through the door. And they allegedly released everybody's contracts on that part of the era of the show. So I can't see it being that, because I keep saying to myself, why would you spend time, energy, and money on a new lead and then surround them with old ones who are just going to dominate them because you haven't found your feet yet in that role? I would just say, get the new lead, give him a fantastic script with the Daleks, and bang, throw him in there and get on with it. So, would I be up for this for Tennant returning? Not particularly. Me, space bookers, I don't like looking back. I want to move forward. Go on. So I would like somebody fresh in the role, somebody that can bring something new and different to it. However, my mother would be delighted.
Paul Murray, who's watching along in the chat, says, thank God Paul Daniels is no longer with us. Of course, because that was the rumour. And bless you, Paul. I love Paul Daniels. Bit of a national treasure. I hope you're listening, Paul. But that was the standing joke back in 2004, wasn't it, Simon? The fact that there was still that hangover that the show was considered a bit of a joke. And so Paul Daniels, who wasn't even an actor, let alone a dramatic actor, was one of the names seriously put out in the media as being a possible contender. We're not there yet, are we? But
like I say, Kermit the Frog for the Doctor. I mean, for all we know, the Mirror might be running that story next week, having heard that the Frog is the Doctor.
For an unnamed source. Make sure you get paid, Simon. But no, I think we are back there, because look at the Ollie Alexander thing coming out every 20 minutes. Oh, bugger off.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just got distracted by Grand Moff Miranda, who's got a huge Toblerone bar. Where's ours, Miranda? Anyway,
sounds like a party.
This would be a disastrous idea to bring David Tennant back. I couldn't be. Anybody that has been watching it for a while knows I'm very, very, to be honest, I'm very against Russell T Davies taking back over again. And now we've got Phil Collinson back as producer. I'm sorry, next week it'll be Murray Gold. I like JT says, we need fresh, we need new. No, I don't want David Tennant back. I don't want any of these people back. I want something new and exciting again. I know why Russell's coming back. I get it. But am I pleased about it? No, I'm not. And David Tennant coming back, dear God, no. Oh, that's
Dr. Martin says that David Tennant was a great doctor, but he has had his time, and we need someone new and male. He's
I think David is male, but I could be wrong.
I can see why these things, from fans' points of view, especially the younger ones who are very immature. I am going to use the word. I mean, they frighten me, some of these younger ones. They really do. But I can understand when you start to see Russell coming back and Julie coming back and all these names, I can see how they would jump to certain links to say, oh, everybody's going to, because we've got the Catherine Tate on the back of the David Tennant thing. If it happens, we'll deal with it. However, I can't see it because, again, when we were talking at the top of the show about creativity, why would you do that when you've got the potential here with two brand new independent companies controlling this thing now? BBC Studios, Bad Wolf Productions. Why would they, when they can put their own mark on it and their own characters and their own stamp on it? I would say, from a creative point of view, fresh.
Yeah,
I do remember, Charlotte. I do remember. I mean, we got the news about Russell T Davies, didn't we, around 4 to 5 months ago?
Wow.
But a good year before that, somewhere, it was certainly before the end of 2020, after Series 12, because Series 12 was a total ratings disaster. But people were already starting to look ahead just to two or 3 years down the line and speculating about a 60th anniversary. And so a long time before we even got the rumours that Jodie may depart the role, there were, and I think we've all kind of forgotten, I'd forgotten, there were already rumours out there that there could be a movie of Doctor Who, or a TV movie put out there for the anniversary, for the 60th anniversary, and that it would star David Tennant. Do you remember those rumours? Because lots of people reported on this. I think we may have even talked about it. Noel Glynn on the TARDIS Zone certainly talked about it. I think we
dismissed it, though, in our usual way, please.
I think we probably did.
I can remember the rumours, and this is why I agree Tennant should not be the 14th, because one of the brilliant, unique things of Regeneration is that it's the same character, but it's a completely different actor every time. It's the same character, but you get to get a different mind, a different creative power, a different everything, and it's brilliant. And that's always, I think, one of the unique selling points, if you like the uniqueness of this show. So I think even if Tennant came back and thought, no, I can do a different crack at it, we would still see the 10th Doctor in him. We would just see it, even if he's not trying to be like his previous
Well, the public certainly would. The public would. Again, I'm always going to go on about the public. This show is not made for fans. It shouldn't be made for fans, Chris Chibnall. This show has to be made for a wider audience. And now, more importantly than ever, that wider audience is global. You have to have somebody that can present the Doctor. And David, God love him, is the Doctor from the public's point of view here. But even if he tried to do a new spin on it, it wouldn't be any new version. It would be David Tennant's Doctor, you know, and that's not really a sell to me. I get sort of thinking, how would you get around that in a marketing point of view?
Yeah, but so, I think, and this is why I think it's clever. I think it's clever Russell started with a 60th, because I think he can have, if he wants to bring back characters, if he wants to relive the glory years, he's got the perfect excuse to do 2 free specials like that, and then when it comes to Series 14, he can go completely new. He doesn't.
Why would you do that, though, Charlotte? I don't get it. Why would you waste a whole production year on not establishing a new Doctor?
Because you need to,
Charlotte, cleanse the palate, cleanse the general audience's memory.
Because
but the general audience hasn't been watching Jodie Whittaker, so they don't care.
No, but the general audience needs to get reminded. Yeah. Because
Doctor
Who has not been on screen for a lot of the general audience.
Disagree.
For 5+ years.
Charlotte, we lived through from 1989 to 1996. They came back 9 million for one episode with Paul McGann. They didn't care. They just like Paul McGann. They remembered Doctor Who. Then we went through it again, and they came back for 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 onwards, up until. I don't think. I don't think that holds water, that argument.
The difference is when Doctor Who went off, and obviously maybe this is how I've always seen it, and it could be wrong, but I've always seen it as when Doctor Who went off air in the 80s, it was still beloved. It still had its fan base.
Not really. It was quite low in the ratings because it was on against Corrie.
Well, in the ratings, but the fan base. Whereas it's coming off
The fan base
an
wasn't
era
divided
which
like
has
it is.
had a
Charlotte,
which has been
Charlotte,
attacked.
the fan base wasn't divided like it is now. It was a little. It was a little.
It was smaller.
Jaded.
Quiet.
It was jaded.
We were slightly hurt, and we were a bit bored, and it was smaller. It was cult. We were a niche.
That's the
now
word,
because
cult,
since 2005, it's been opened up to more people, and now we've got alleged activists on with purple hair. You know, they're in part of this as well. I don't think that's going to, from the general public's point of view, as long as they get the casting right next year is going to be huge.
And
it will be big.
Looking
come and
at
watch
this
it. They
rumor,
don't care about the last 3 years.
Looking at this rumor in particular, JT, and seeing that man who, you know, David Tennant is one of the most popular actors, certainly in the UK.
Absolutely.
Everybody recognizes him. He's rarely off our screen.
Because of Doctor Who?
Completely because of Doctor Who. He owes that show a lot. And he admits that all the time, doesn't he? It's one of the things I like about them.
Yeah.
But for the general public, as much as they like Tennant, they're aware. I think people are aware that Doctor Who's in trouble now, that it's not as good as it used to be, that it's gone woke. And I think that Derek Brady sums it up perfectly. At desperate times could call for desperate measures. And problem being also says, and as an extension of that, really, Tennant coming back would be the biggest admission, a public admission of failure ever. I say do it for the lols. My son says that.
Wicked problem being you're a very naughty boy.
But again, that is the definite aroma that this gives off, and yet we are still talking about a situation which that idea of putting a much loved actor technically back in a role that they were much loved in, mega loved in a show that was hugely successful. Whilst people would possibly be down for that for an hour, it's still a case of people may say at the side of their mouths like, "Oh God, they had to do this, didn't they?" Or, we'll clap and we'll enjoy it, but oh dear, it wasn't as good as it was 15. It always runs that risk that it's not going to be received as well.
In a sense, some of the stupid things I saw on the social media this week from very concerned fans or fans who were getting whatever. It's very disrespectful to both Smith and Capaldi if you're going to reboot from stories before their time. And I can't see all these lovey-doveys want to do that. I just think it's a load of... If it happens, and we'll have a discussion about it, but I can't say it did.
I don't think it'll happen. I must be honest. I'd nail my colours to the mast and say it's a rumour and nothing more. It won't happen.
It's another one of those fanboy things, isn't it?
Really? Me on that one.
Well, from one casting suggestion to another, from David Tennant, did you see this one coming? Because I certainly didn't. I don't think she did either. Dame Judi Dench is the Doctor.
We've had that one.
This comes from... God, I can't keep a straight face. This comes from the genius mind of Alex Jones, who's a host on the One show on BBC One. So Dame Judi, an actress that you can't help but see Dame Judi Dench and smile. She's lovely, she's cuddly, she's everybody's nan. But she was on the One show, this mainstream sort of chatty show that airs across BBC One, stripped in the week apparently so. So she was on there talking to Alex Jones, promoting a film called Belfast that she's made with Kenneth Branagh.
Cracking film, go and see it.
And it does look really good. Alex Jones put it directly to Dame Judi. So that if you were approached to play the Doctor, what would you say? And she said, she said that I think I'd have to pass.
She said polite.
How would I be able to get about? She said, I'd certainly have to get someone to do all the stunts for me, which wouldn't be any good, would it? No, I'm not up for that, I'm afraid.
It's strange though, because that rumor did come about in 2017 as well.
Really?
Yeah. It was very odd because I had a picture because there was a rumor going around because we knew it was going to be a woman. Actually, I know that might be a shock, but I'd heard at the Christmas of 2016 would have been. Well, anyway, whatever it was. Somebody said to me, "You better sit down. I've got some news for you. Your new Doctor's a woman." And I thought of this guy. But then it's really strange how the Judi Dench thing came about because somebody put a post on and she was dressed in a blue coat with a green background because she was in somebody's garden.
I love Judi Dench. I would watch her pretty much in anything. But as the Doctor, a hard sell, I think. A hard sell.
She's too good.
I think Judy is obviously out. David Tennant, it remains to be seen. We'll come back to that a little later on. But David Tennant is in for something, isn't he, Charlotte? Yeah, you brought this to my attention. This is something called The Legend of Vox Machina. Machina? Vox Machina?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
The Legend of Vox Machina. Take two. How did you take two? The Legend of Vox I can't even say it again.
Don't try.
It's connected with something called Critical Role. And yes, so this is from Amazon. They've announced a host of famous voices are joining this show. Dominic Monaghan, Stephanie Biarritz, Felicia Day, Tony Hale, Gina Torres, Indira Varma. One of my major crushes. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see her in this because it's just voice work. And David Tennant. So can you fill us in on exactly what this is? What DT is going to be doing? And do you think it's going to be worth catching?
Well, just to explain what it is, it's an animated series that it's an exclusive to Amazon. That's why it's Amazon original. And it's voice work, and he's voicing one of the supporting cast. And the reason why I was looking forward to this anyway is because Vox Machina, it is a bit of a mouthful.
I would have read it as Vox Machina as well, Dan. It looks like
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Well, it's a funny thing because basically the show came from a Dungeons and Dragons stream because a load of really well-known American voice actors at home were all massive Dungeons and Dragons fans, and they played it at home. And then somebody probably was like, "Oh, you're quite famous, you lot. You should stream yourselves doing it." And because they're voice actors, obviously, when they play, they don't just do the normal voices. So they basically act out their parts. And it got really big on Twitch, which is one of the big streaming things.
So they would stream their game. They would play the parts. People could see that they were actually actively competing in this game too.
Yeah. So you'd see them fight. You'd see them interact on stream with each other. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. That now that they've got books, they've got comics, and they announced this, was it 2 years ago, this animated show, and it's now become even bigger that they've got the likes of Tennant doing one of the supporting sort of cast roles. So he's not one of the main cast, but I think
he's in there.
Yeah, and
he's no stranger to voice work, is he, Charlotte? He was a voice artist on Disney's DuckTales show and on some episodes of the Star Wars series, the Clone Wars, I believe. So this is something that David Tennant does do. Work that he can do remotely as well, isn't it, JT? Like you say, he was in that Pirates movie for Aardman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also this is a big American thing. So I think this is going to play to a lot of American Doctor Who fans because of the stream that this
they're all Teddy.
Yeah, and they released a little video, and you saw like 2 seconds of him. So, and he's very Scottish. It sounds like the character he's playing. So I think it's
great.
Yeah, he's a general. So he sounds like a very angry Scottish person, just from the little bit they released. But no, I was
with Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, so I was looking forward to this anyway, and I thought, it's interesting. Like you said, that cast, it's not like he's the only big name, so they've got a lot of big sort of names to this.
It certainly sounds interesting, and the fact that David Tennant is so much in demand, whether people can see him or hear him, is obviously a great thing for Doctor Who because of this continued association. But I suppose it's kind of inevitable that when the series be not just in crisis like it is at the moment, and at a very particular place where certain stars are aligned, like you say, Simon, you can join all these dots. If certain names and faces appear and sign up for something, it's not a big reach to think, okay, well, there's only one very obvious person missing from the equation. True. And it's Mr. JT. So you can't really say that it's total pie in the sky, that people are being silly for reaching there. But when I see David Tennant attached to projects like this that are creative shot, I mean, that sounds really, really creative, very, very now. And it sounds fun too. And I'm sure that he's making a bob or two from it as well, which there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I still enjoy hearing Tennant's voice crop up even in adverts. And there's just something about him. I don't know if he's heading for national treasure status, such as the likes of Tom. But he is.
He's just had his first flop, hasn't he? His first real flop on television. I have no idea what it was because I didn't watch it, but apparently he was on something recently, and that's it. It flopped.
Was it Around the World in 80 Days? It flopped in the end. This was a big series for the BBC, Charlotte?
I was going to say, haven't they got a season 2 out? Or am I wrong? I'm sure
no idea.
they've done another series of it.
I
watched this.
I heard it had been quite successful and has been recommissioned, Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard, but maybe that's wrong. But I did watch this, and I really liked Tennant in it actually, because like Phineas Fogg is a bit of a coward, and he's not like the typical leading man type of character. And you really see in this series that by every episode he was getting a bit more confident and a bit more confident in himself, and Tennant played that very well.
Sorry, Charlotte.
I say that there was even a scene in one episode, and it even got me a bit emotional because it reminded me almost of back in the day with Doctor Who, because it was a really heartfelt scene, and it was about his character talking about love and how important it is, and it made me think, God, this is something the Doctor would say almost.
Oh, you've got to cut that, Charlotte. That's not healthy. Cut that. I read 2 reviews about this, and they weren't very complimentary. We know now that the BBC had its worst Christmas schedule in its history. It's 100 years old, and it had its worst Christmas just there because a lot of it was repeats. Even my mother noticed that and was complaining about it. God love her. And some of the stuff like this, one of the reviews I saw said you can see the tick box element in here. In this particular drama, and it didn't get that many viewers in it because it was part of that whole schedule. People just aren't watching the BBC. They're not watching the BBC.
Obviously, I didn't
know. And good on them. Thank you very much for waking up and seeing that they're a pile of nonsense.
I did know the figures were down. I didn't know they were quite that.
I think it's about 4 million, maybe wrong. Problem being, or anybody might know, or if the thinking's on, he will definitely know. They were very. It was low across the board, Simon. It was the worst Christmas New Year schedule they've had forever.
But as people, as Jodie supporters will constantly tell us, it doesn't matter because it was Christmas Day, wasn't it? And so people are doing things on Christmas Day.
They're almost drunk. They were drunk and stuffing turkeys. Yes.
Yeah, people have got to do. It's no problem.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's Bungle. Oh, that's great. Bungle for the next Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give
We're going to be coming back. There's obviously there's the 13th Doctor and Carbonista there. We're going to be coming back to more talk, more rumours. More rumours about Doctor Who a little bit later in the show. But yeah, for now, we're going to skip over to the Doctor Who loft, and we're going to talk all things merchandise with our mate JT. And we're going to follow up on a story that we were talking about, I think it was 2 weeks ago. No, it was last week, sorry, because it's related to Tom Baker. So yeah, we have more details, don't we, on the new wave of Target books here.
We do, and I'd just like to say a quick thank you to all the Spacebookers that got in touch through the week asking the very same question. Because last week, as you know, we went through, these are the new Target books that are coming out from July 2022. I've had a lot of messages this week saying, do we know about the covers? Are they keeping the logo that's on screen now? I can confirm, yes, they are. The Stones of Blood and the Androids of Tara will carry the Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker logo. So there you go. But thank you for asking me. But I've had it confirmed. That logo is the one going forward.
And it's not a silly question, is it? Because in the last wave, they did keep that Pertwee / McGann logo for certain key titles, didn't they?
All of them except the Whittaker covered one. I don't know the name of the episode, of course, because I don't watch the show. So that was it. But also, we reported on the show, if you remember, when they did do that last year, that the statement said that logo would be carried forward. So I did chase up on that with people that I know would know, and they've assured me, yes, it's going to be that logo. So we'll have to deal with it for a little bit longer, another year at least, Spacebookers.
I was going to say, do you know how longer? Because obviously, it's like we've still got technically this era going on, so it makes sense, but I can't see that carrying on beyond. I
can't see them announcing any logo while the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era is running. So that's going to take you to at least October. I reckon January, February next year, things may really take off. You might get a reveal. You might get the trailers. You may get not trailers in for the actual show, but pieces of information coming through. I can't see the merchandise being hit until next year.
Problem being, says here, wait for them to get republished with the new one. Obviously, that's a possibility. It's always a possibility, isn't it?
It will.
It's a shame, problem being actually that they're not putting them out in hardback first, because of course traditionally you get a hardback and then the year after you get a rejacketed paperback version. So it's a shame that they're just going straight into the paper book version, isn't it? But for £7.50, if you're not keen on the logo, if you're not in a rush to read David's version of his own stories, just hang fire, because I am sure that they will be reduced in price in various sales, as were the original. But remember, at one point I was reporting on the Facebook page for Type 40 that you could get them for £3.
Woo.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, the beauty of it is, Charlotte, that even though that logo is on the cover, when they're on your shelf, all you can see is the spines, and you can't.
Well, let's hope that they haven't put the logo on the spine, because that really offends me when I look at those Blu-ray collections.
I was going to say, I think they will, because don't they usually put Doctor Who on the spine with the logo?
Sometimes.
You can't see it, can you? But the last Target books were just written in gold. So if they continue that with their block capitals, it's not too bad, but we'll see. But they're coming out then.
Lots of love in the chat for all the original logo. They should put the original logos on them, says Vanessa.
Simon will agree with that.
Vanessa, always great to see you in the chat. I think it is that simple, isn't it, Simon? It's not just an exercise in nostalgia, though, is it? It just looks better design-wise.
Well, I mean, we've gone through this so many times, but it's just good design. It just, you know, and I get some people like it. There's somebody commented, I've lost the comment now, but somebody likes it. Brilliant. I'm pleased that people do like it. But design-wise, it is weak. It's just a weak design. And obviously, it's handy that Russell T Davies takes over for the 60th year, because obviously he would want a new logo, and you would obviously expect a new logo for the 60th anniversary year as well. So it's just nice and coincidental. It all fits into.
When it comes to logos, and I'm not just talking merchandise now, but when it comes to the look of the show as well, Bad Wolf, BBC Studios, give us a bloody science fiction logo back, please. Bring us the diamond one or the Pertwee one back. Something big and bold and science fiction-y, and something that looks good on a bloody toy shelf or bookshelf, please. Come on,
logo. Says the diamond logo, please. Yeah, I agree with. I have to be honest. I never liked the Chris Eccleston logo.
No, I
just hated it. I always thought it was way off.
Well, I remember.
I used to hate walking around London, Simon, because it looked like the taxi cab thing, and I was always like, logo.
Well, speaking of somebody, you know, I've been working in graphic design and illustration and concept design now for the best part of 25 years. And when that original Chris Eccleston, Russell T Davies logo came out, everybody who was talking about branding, the people I was working along with at the time, you know, we noticed these things, the style guides, and all of us said, oh my God, what are they thinking? Looks great on a screensaver, but put it anywhere else, and that logo creates havoc in any packaging. I mean, over the years now, I'm really, really fond of it. But I'm still, you know, anybody who knows anything about design will tell you that logo wasn't particularly good.
Absolutely.
Either. Wendology says, the diamond logo is brilliant and so recognizable. I think they should certainly, if not use the diamond logo, then certainly look at that as a standard
inspiration,
which to try and evoke something that
You've
stays
got three,
around.
Haven't you? You've got three. You can look at the Pertwee logo, which was later again, as we all know, loose from a
I love that logo.
You've got the diamond logo, which is iconic, but even the neon tube logo from the 80s, it looked good on merchandise. Do you remember? You still got that brill, didn't you?
My personal favourite. There are some more books due later on in the year. 2 books, aren't there, JT? And they're coming out in a sort of staggered way. This is what we've got so far, isn't it? So what are these?
Right. Okay. So these are more novels that are coming out. These are $7.99, and they are really based on a theme, because last year we reported on the Wonderful Data of Oz, the Wonderful Doctor of Oz, and Legends of Camelot. So are you sensing a theme, Space Bookers? Because here we have Robin Hood and Treasure Island with Doctor Who themes. As I say, they're $7.99, and they're going to be published on the 21st of July and available for pre-order now at all the usual stockists. But it's very, very odd sort of thing. One's by Paul Mars, who's written Robin Hood,
He's a fun writer.
And Jacqueline Rayner has written Treasure Island. So it's an interesting take on Camelot, Oz, Robin Hood, Treasure Island. What's coming next? It's a bit Muppety.
Jacqueline Rayner wrote the Arthurian one last year too, didn't she?
She did, yes. I thought, didn't she write the Oz one as well? I think she's done 3 now.
Maybe.
So, yes, but they're coming along. So if you've got the original 2, please let us know what they're like, because I certainly haven't invested in them and don't intend to. But I am interested. What are they like? Are they actually worth getting?
Because these are writers who've been writing for the Doctor Who brands and line in various media now, Jacqueline Rayner in particular, but Paul Ayres too. They've been writing for Doctor Who for the best part of 2 decades, haven't they? You know, they're reliable storytellers that can, you know, they've got proper careers who understand the show, understand the characters.
Yeah, and of course they've been invested in the BBC Books range of previous Doctors since 2005 onwards. So it's interesting. It's a different take, isn't it? Because they've taken these legends and these sort of legendary characters. I'm expecting a Sherlock Holmes one at some point next year. Who's with me on that? What's the money on that one, guys?
Yeah, probably written by Mark Gatiss, that one. Well,
I'm saying nothing more about that one.
It's just a prediction, folks. But no, it'd be interesting what Doctors they choose, because if you can remember, the Camelot one was a 10th Doctor focus story, and the other one was a Missy. It looked like Missy was the big part of that one.
It wasn't the 13th Doctor, was it? It was. I think she was in it, but
I think she was in it. Yes, yeah, she was in it.
But she wasn't on the cover.
Yeah, and we know why. But no, they haven't said which incarnations of the Doctor are in these books at all. But it looks like they're going through all 12 and the other one.
We also have some nice, pretty bits of plastic as well. Talking about iconic Doctors past. That's
debatable. Bring them on.
Well, I'm talking about these, and again, although we have that logo in place, is it my imagination or is it getting smaller?
Absolutely. Dan's convinced that the logo on these new big Chief products are coming up. These I've taken from this week's Toy Fair, which is taking place right now in London. Now, once upon a time, Space Bookers, at the Toy Fair, you could wet yourself with character options and various other licensees, all there with Doctor Who goodies waiting to come out in the autumn or for the Christmas markets. Now you're getting this. So now these are, of course, the Bobble Heads, which you can actually get at B&M right now. You can get 2 box sets, as you'll probably be aware. These are the next ones coming through. Now, as you can see there, you've got quite large ones and little itty-bitty ones there in the Bubbly Head range. You've got I think that's the black one down there as well, which they're calling the Daleks the New Era. I'm not sure about that. But Dan is convinced, and what do you think, that the logo is getting smaller?
It's the last thing you see when those are on a shelf boxed. In fact, not just the logo, most elements of what we would term a style guide and of branding, only the actual colours, the main colour and the accent colour, are visible. Everything else, the glyphs, the TARDIS, even that sort of half shadow TARDIS, Simon, it's all disappearing bit by bit, isn't it, as a brand?
Well, I think that's exactly what they're doing. They're sort of maybe just letting it drift quietly away. But the problem, of course, with doing that, it begins to look even weaker than it already is to begin with. You know, the smaller you make it, the weaker it is. So it just, I don't know. It just feels like it's almost like what worries me with all this. Doctor Who is beginning to seem and feel very old, very outdated, very last century. You know, that's Vox Machina or whatever we were just looking at a few minutes ago. You know, that couldn't interest me less, to be fair. But the point being, it does kind of look new and forward-looking and forward-thinking. And I don't know, just looking at these and looking at the logo on it, it all just starts to look just dated, to be honest.
I agree. As the merchandise freak I am, I know exactly what you're putting over there, and I have to agree with you. I've obviously put these on the Type 40 Facebook page, and my now usual saying is more tat, because I see that. However, having said that, lots of people have got in touch with me saying we like them, which is good for you if you want to invest in them.
I think
found out when they're coming out.
Oh, go on. What's the date on these then?
Well, you'll be able to get them and pre-order very soon. They're looking in the next couple of months, apparently, from Big Chief's website itself. They're the people that did the statuettes that Ian quite liked the look of, the Mega Geeky quite liked the look of. Yeah. So you can get them from there. And they are currently sorting, that's why they're at the Toy Fair, I guess. They're currently sorting what shops are going to take them. Good luck with that. With Britain, with retail the way they are today, they're going to end up in B&M, aren't they? But keep an eye, if you're interested in these things, keep an eye out, and you can pre-order them, if not now, very soon, on the Big Chief website.
I mean, what I can't help but notice, Charlotte, is that if you're looking across the shop floor of, say, the average Forbidden Planet or any retailer that you can think of, really, from a distance, although you can't really see that logo, the window area of the box is quite large, isn't it? And if you're looking across the shop and you see Tom Baker or David Tennant, it's Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, we've said this for a while. They've had to go back to all the previous Doctors. They've been doing this for a good amount of years now.
Yeah.
And it's just even more telling that also it's like she's going, and it's like utterly. Well, no, sorry, on telly she's going. That's probably a better way to say it. But it's like she's going, and it's just like the merchandise has been like that for years. It's like she's already gone.
Yeah.
It's like we're already either. It's just such a weird thing for. I think for somebody my age who hasn't grown up with the same sort of cycles and the way merchandise is done, just to see a complete desertion of a Doctor. And that's what we've got, and what we had for the last couple of years.
This is what we've got to bear in mind, though, as well, because I've said this before. I reckon they will be looking at licenses and licensees and who's producing what, just like they did in 2003, 2004. Next year is too big a year for them not to make money, because that money now will, I'm sure, be shared between studios and Bad Wolf. We've said before, let's clarify, we don't know the details. We haven't heard the details of any contracts. We possibly never will, and that's fine. But, it's too big a year. So maybe the licensees that are on at the moment are just trying to get things out there to make do. We don't know. Ask us again this time next year. We'll be able to get back in and have a look and see what's coming, won't we?
There is some, again, it's always strange to see a piece of artwork like this, because it mixes up one incarnation with, I'm sorry, it's that logo again. So this release is also coming from BBC Audio, isn't it, JT?
Yeah, the 12th Doctor Tales is coming from. You can pre-order this right now as well. The 12th Doctor Audio Collection. As you can see, this actually brings together their previous single audio storybooks in one fairly nicely presented box with the lovely Capaldi on the front there. So look at all those stories you're getting, and read by lots of people. I don't know who Claire Higgins is, but you've got Dave Schofield, Gemma Redgrave, Nicola Bryant, Kerry Shields, Dan Starkey, and Robin Sloan there. I don't know some of those names.
Who was that? Who's that, Simon? Who's Claire Higgins?
Claire Higgins. She's in a David Tennant episode. Impossible Planet. That's Claire Higgins, isn't it?
I can't.
Does she play the sister of Khan in Night of the Doctor and Heaven Sent?
Is it her? Or maybe it's her. Or maybe I'm wrong then.
I'm terrible for.
Here we go. Kelly's telling us in the chat. The woman from the Sisterhood of Khan. Thank you, Kelly.
Oh yes, so she's like the head priestess, is she?
Who's that in Impossible Planet? Come on, chat, people in the chat. Who's in Impossible Planet then? Who's the woman in Impossible Planet?
Claire Rushbrook.
She's a great actress.
Is it Claire Rushbrook?
Thank you, Dan. Yes, I think you're quite right.
Yeah, so it does seem like a good. You get a lot of Doctor Who action there for your ears, for your money. So I'm never going to turn my nose up at that. But
they're not audio plays, by the way. They're the rated stories, original story. Remember the BBC were doing original stories straight to CD. Yeah. That's what those are. They brought all the Capaldi ones that they produced together in one box. Okay, so it's the 12th Doctor with Clara.
Fabulous, absolutely.
Color me excited.
Looking across as well at, I think I would call this J-Dar trinkets. I'm not sure how you would classify these things. Maybe you'll have an inkling when I get this picture up now, because I quite like these. And
this is nothing to do with me. I'm going to add this now. This is tap.
I was going to say, let's pick what JT's going to call them.
I have been known to wear items such as these. These are enamel pin sets, everybody.
Oh, please!
They've put out a series of these. There's about 5 different sets, all with various different TARDIS.
What are you, 5?
The reason why these caught my eye, though, well, firstly, I've got the blurb here, and it says, hit the vortex from your very lapels with these new pins. We've got the 2nd Doctor's TARDIS, the 3rd Doctor's TARDIS, the 11th Doctor's TARDIS, but more crucially, Simon, we have the 6th Doctor's TARDIS there.
Why?
Well, because we're going to be talking about the 22nd series in a minute.
Exactly. It's a great segue. Go with it. So, yeah, this is from the opening story from season 22. This is from Attack of the Cybermen, when the 6th Doctor... Well, what did he do, and why does the TARDIS look like that?
But he's basically trying to fix the chameleon circuit, and so instead of fixing it, of course, in typical Doctor style, he gets it even more broken than it was to begin with. And so that third one there is, for anybody that hasn't seen Attack of the Cybermen, it's an organ.
Yeah, that's pure historical. Says in the chat, it's Colin Baker's organ.
It's Colin Baker's organ. You're quite right. It's a very large organ, as you can see.
Really?
It is a large.
Nobody's going to do. Nobody's going to do the double. Are you two really not going to pick up on those double entendres?
No.
Well, yeah, I did. that was the. I always thought that was a kitchen cabinet or something because the organ came next.
And of course, what happens in Attack of the Cybermen is that Colin Baker plays on his organ for around about 30 seconds. He plays on his organ.
He does, and he does it splendidly. And he should have won an award.
Beautifully. His handwork on the organ is. We really should move on from this, shouldn't we? But I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Colin Baker does play the organ.
We're coming back to this in a few minutes, Facebook, because you don't get this anywhere else. You this sort of crap.
But it's bizarre because that organ, Colin's organ, appears for around about 30 seconds in Attack of the Cybermen. Why have they done a pin badge on it?
Yeah. And
Nice
poor
work
Perry
if
just
you
has
can
to
get it.
look, doesn't she, boys? She just has to look.
Oh dear.
Anyway, that
oh
was
dear,
nothing
oh
to do
dear.
with me because that's sheer tat.
You don't get you
I
don't
like
get
the
this
last one.
on Radio Free
I like
Sky.
that one. That's
Yeah,
nice.
I like that too. Carry on type 40 says the downtones don't know what you mean. That's not an organ, though, cautions problem being. That's not an organ. That's a French cabinet.
That's the French cabinet, that's right, because it changes into the organ when the policeman come and he goes down the hole.
I'm wrong. It's not Colin's organ at all. So we have to. I take back everything that was said. I apologise.
It's a good gag, though. It's worth going with if it's a good gag. I think. Absolutely. We're going to be talking more about the Colin Baker era when we come back. Lots of the Colin Baker era, in fact. Before we get there, though, I wanted to just say we don't shout out. We're British. We never shout, but we do. We do call out. So I wanted to give a very quick call out here. I don't want to embarrass them, you see. I want to give a quick call out to Doctor Who Chat over on YouTube too. This is Doctor Who Chat, and they've just knocked up their 2nd anniversary on YouTube. Neil and Liz Perkins have been running this channel for a couple of years. They live really close by to me, literally about 3 miles up the road from me. They run this fun YouTube channel with Andy Lanes on there, the Blue Bonnet Whovian, along with Gary Akers, who's often in our chat, Rocket, and our very own starry-eyed girl, Sarah Graham, is on there quite regularly too. So I just wanted to say, yes, as fellow Black Country people, congratulations to Neil, Liz, and everybody involved with Doctor Who Chat on 2 years on YouTube, because it is an achievement. Well done. And we've been talking about doing some sort of crossover for a while, but I just wanted to say happy 2nd birthday to everybody involved with Doctor Who Chat over the last 2 years. And well done. But it's that time, everybody. It's time to go and relieve oneself in the TARDIS, maybe of your choice. And with the Type 40 ad break. So this ad break is also slightly themed. I think you'll find you'll be able to pick up to the trained eye where and how all of these adverts are connected, I think. But if you think back to a time of, for example, Live Aid, then you may be along the right lines, and it connects.
Give us your money! Give us your money!
With our very next story. So where are we? Yes, here they come. Here come the ads. Enjoy the adverts, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes with more Doctor Who talk from the past, the present, and maybe even the future.
What's that, Grandad?
That were Milkman and his float. Cap off. Years ago, the British housewives started buying some of her milk from elsewhere. So doorstep delivery, as we knew it, became a thing of the past. If only she'd ordered all the milk from Milkman. She'd know it were fresh. That milk round would have been saved. It were that easy.
Mr. Bottomley, wake up, Mr. Bottomley. You've been dreaming.
Dreaming? It were a nightmare.
Fresh milk's got a lot of bottle.
Use your milkman. Don't let him become a thing of the past.
Right, we'll be fine. See you later.
Help yourself to coffee.
Good idea. Nescafe.
You're not doing that right. You've got to magic the beans.
Magic the beans?
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Ah, you mean these with the special blend and roast that give a richer, smoother taste.
Nescafe. Coffee at its best.
Nescafe always does the trick.
Bye.
I think you're next, sir.
Yeah.
What's it to be then?
Just a trim, please.
You could have a Lionel Blair cut, like mine.
Lionel Blair doesn't have his hair cut like yours.
That's if he comes here. Time for a sharp exit. Time for a cool, sharp harp.
Pint of harp, please, Chief.
Toad slippers have an extra thick padded sole. But they don't just keep your feet warm. The tread makes totes, the slippers that don't slip. Pick a pair of toad slippers. They're a great gift. Next time you're out and about, take away a wimpy takeaway. You'll get a great lineup of burgers, chips and shakes in no time at all. It's some of the best value for money this side of the Hercules cluster.
Well, they certainly made a meal out of that one.
Make a meal of it at Wimpy.
Yes, we're back with more Type 40 Live here for you. And yeah, if anybody, I think people did work out in the chat what was the connection between all of those adverts. And we have the various Doctor Who personalities, actors, talent, voices, faces behind the voices, here running across the screen for your pleasure. So who do we have from the top left, Simon? Who's that?
Oh, that's Brian Griffiths. Am I right?
Close.
Glover.
He plays Griffiths.
He plays Griffiths. Brian Glover. Brian Glover.
Brian Glover. Yeah.
Oh, blimey, you caught me on the hop there. Brian Glover. Yeah.
But he was in the 80s. He was very famous, in particular for PG Tips. No, not PG Tips. It was the Tetley's T-Men adverts, wasn't it? So, but it turns out he'd got quite a career on adverts, and I thought that was just a really charming, very northern advert there, very typically Brian Glover.
I remember that advert.
And we've got gorgeous Sarah Green there from Blue Peter and Going Live. We can actually see her face there, but we don't. We're not able to see her face, are we, in Attack of the Cybermen?
No. Now, I seem to remember at least one of them was rather miffed. I can't remember. Was it Faith Brown that was rather miffed that she discovered that she was completely covered and nobody could see her at all? Bless her.
Maybe, yeah.
Who for you?
Absolutely. These are all various people who appeared in season 22 in some capacity or another. So, yes, Sarah Green was one of the Cryons underneath all that plastic and twisting and twirling her fingers around there. Gary Cady, who's famous from shows like Brass, wasn't he? He appeared in the Mark of the Rani as Luke, didn't he? One of George Stevenson's assistants who is bewitched by the Rani, but he's there in that iconic advert there, the Lionel Blair cut.
Yeah, I remember that one so well. That Lionel Blair advert.
It ran for 2.5 years.
Incredible. Really? But I mean, those whole harp adverts were the whole campaign, which went for decades, didn't it?
Absolutely.
It seemed to. The fabulous Alexis Sale, who was in Revelation of the Daleks, was the voice of the Totes there. The Totes Toasters, they're sort of slipper socks, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Do you wear slipper socks, Charlotte? Because they're quite commonplace now, but they were just quite new there in the 90s when Alexi was voicing that advert.
And they called them Totes.
Totes. That was the brand. That was the name of the business,
Yeah.
Totes. Who were taken over.
I honestly thought you were talking about a Doctor Who alien that he voiced.
No.
That's what I honestly thought you were talking about.
Oh, the children's space battles.
And last but not least, of course, there was Paul Darrow there, looking spectacular and slicked back in the chair on that sort of ET-ish advert with the little aliens, who played Maylin Tecker so memorably. Simon, in Time Lash.
Memorable is the word. Memorable is definitely the word.
They were.
And of course, what happened with that is that John Nathan Turner didn't quite realise he was going to be playing it quite like that. It was all very controversial, and he downplayed it in rehearsals, and then just went completely over the top in the actual recording. It's memorable. I think it's notable. It's a notable performance. That's for sure.
Well, it's certainly in the history books for Doctor Who, isn't it? Because everybody was livid with him, and he didn't care. That's how I'm going to do it, darling.
Really didn't care. But that does bring us nicely to the big item of merchandise that's been announced over the last week. Okay, we've been speculating about it for quite a long time, but we got confirmation. It was a week ago, wasn't it, that season 22 is the next of the Doctor Who collections to arrive on Blu-ray. We don't have a date on this yet, quite understandably. I mean, I believe it's out. The plan is to bring it out in late March. We don't have a confirmed date, but this was the 13 episodes of Doctor Who that originally aired in 1985 as season 22, Colin Baker's first full season as the Doctor. It was the year of Live Aid and the Goonies, and it was also the year that the very first mobile phone calls were made in the UK. But for Doctor Who fans, it was, I'm afraid, Charlotte, this was the year where everything kind of changed. The Doctor was in distress. Frankly, so were the fans. When halfway through season 22, the show was put on, well, it was actually axed, to be honest. Yes. In real terms, though, it was put on hiatus for 18 months. And I think in the time in between, for a very, very long time, it sort of tainted this season by association. But time is a healer. And obviously, they've been out on DVD before. Now they're going to be all upscaled, looking better than ever. And they're augmented, as always, by masses of value-added material. This should be, I think, if you don't already love season 22, and I sincerely, I do, everybody. I really do. If you don't already love season 22, there's much to enjoy here with Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant as the Sixth Doctor, and Perry, of course, the regular cast of this run. There's some great stories in the mix there that are okay. The script editor at the time was Eric Saywood. He's considered to be quite a violent writer, a dark writer, and it's one of the reasons why the show was kind of put on hiatus. But we've got Attack of the Cybermen, Vengeance on Varos, The Mark of the Rani, The Two Doctors, Time Lash, and Revelation of the Daleks all make up season 22. I can't remember where you are with these releases, Simon, because you dipped off the limited edition ones, didn't you, to go into the standard edition ones. Where are you now with them? Are you waiting for this? Or are you going to buy it?
Oh yeah, no, I've still got it on. I've still got it on pre-order. So what I'm doing is I'm buying them as they come out on limited edition, but I will replace them further down the line with the standard editions as they come out. But no, I couldn't possibly wait for this one. I'm really excited. I think this is the last great season, in my opinion. I put on my best 1985 Colin Baker kind of themed outfit. I've got my blue Mark Curry glasses on as well, because it is 1985 as far as I'm concerned. I should have put blue eyeshadow on, shouldn't I? But there we go. No, I love 22. It's definitely, for me personally, the writing is on the wall for season 22. It's dipping. There's no two ways about it. It's no season 21. That's for sure. So I'm falling out of love with it at this point, going back in history when I was a teenager. But it definitely, for me, was the last great season. And I think there's a lot to dislike in there. Problem being, I disagree with you on Justice for Time Lash. No, it really should.
Get the hashtag going. Get the hashtag going.
But I love. There's so much in there that I love. I love Attack of the Cybermen. I love the Two Doctors. Yeah, it's me. I love the Two Doctors, and I don't care who kicks me for it. And Revelation of the Daleks is in my top 10 all-time favorite stories ever. So bring it on for me. Can't wait.
Charlotte, you heard me read out the stories there that are in this set. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Have you seen many of those? Which of those titles stand out to you?
Well, I stand out for the wrong reasons, so I'll give that out first. No, I've seen the Two Doctors. I like the Second Doctor and Jamie bits, but then anything to do with Colin, and the weird Spanish stuff, and like going to restaurants, and it's just, and the Santarans are there for some reason, and it's just, oh no, I struggle. I always struggle with Colin's Doctor because, and I've sort of, people who know me say, I honestly think, to be kind, him and Perry is a bit abusive.
Yeah.
It's like she says so many things.
Codependent,
Tries,
I think, is what you would describe her.
She tries her best, and he just shouts at her, and like it's like, no, I know better. Like that's how I think of Colin with Perry.
Sam watching in the YouTube chat says season 22 is the last season. I really love kind of what you were saying there, Simon. By the time it came back, it had lost something for me. I think I grew out of it for a while. I think that a lot of people felt that way. It managed to retain me, but I can understand why you would feel that way. Digby Strawbridge said that this felt like a wasted opportunity. I like the leads; it looked great, but Saywood's stories felt overloaded in terms of continuity and characters. There's heavily on the characters and the continuity. But time, as I said, JT, time does heal, and there's so much Doctor Who from before this that's freely available, and now after this. So historical context is important, of course, isn't it? But I don't know. I mean, are you the kind of person, are you kind of fan who, when you get a set of stories, watches from story one right the way through in a series, or do you pick and choose which ones you fancy to suit your mood?
Well, considering that obviously we grew up in the VHS and DVD range, I will pick and choose. When I get the box sets now on standard edition, I go to the special features more to see the ones I haven't seen already on the DVDs. I've watched series 14 episode to episode because that's just a classic series for me. Whether we like it or not, though, season 22 is very, very important for Doctor Who fans because, of course, we are still feeling the repercussions of what happened in that year today. And today, we've even got a new generation of fans that will come along. They are frightened of the word hiatus and frightened of the word cancellation. I mean, look at the fuss last year when, there were rumors going around that, there wasn't going to be a next series and there wasn't. I mean, that was just, for me, that was just, wow, it's like 1985 all over again. And you've actually got nothing to worry about this time. Because if you weren't there in 85, you don't know what it was like. It was awful. I'm actually looking forward to the special features on this. That picture there, I think, is lovely. I'm quite interested to see some of the stories again. I think they're going to look great. I mean, Mark of the Rani is one of my favorites for many, many reasons. Revelation of the Daleks, I love to bits as well. I quite like the two Doctors because I got it. I understood the story as a 15-year-old, and I think they're going to look gorgeous. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it when it comes out on the standard edition. Because
we have a list of special features here that is extraordinary.
Well, Dan,
I won't mention them all.
Well, just before you move on from the special features, we ought to point out this photo, Dan, is just down the road from you and I, because it's Bliss Hill Open Air Museum, literally about 15 minutes down the road
just
from
outside Ironbridge, isn't it? It's very local. I've been several times.
I've walked along there. I've done the Mark of the Rani tour.
Pilgrimage.
Have you been? Yeah, absolutely. Have you been?
I've been once with, I think it may have been with the Galaxy 4 team that used to be in Sheffield, where we used to, customers of Galaxy 4 would get together and we'd go to various places. And I think it was with them I've been there. But I'm just delighted it's still there all these years later. Congratulations to everybody that kept it going. That's brilliant.
When you go, it's only a few years since I was there, but when you go, it's immediately, you recognise everything from Mark.
Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic.
It's immediate recognisable. I just had to point out that it's literally just down the road from us. So back to the special features.
But also the great thing about, I was going to say the great thing about this as well from a fan's point of view is, it's going to have all that catalogue of what happened that year, and it'll be good for people to go and look at all this and really put this in place. It's a very important season, whether we like it or not.
We have several pictures, in fact, from the special features here. This is another one from Chris Chapman, who's been on Type 40. Hi, Chris. And I do think the glee that Chris displays whenever he can go public with any of the things that he's been working on with Moon Balloon for the special features. It's just written all over his little face there, bless his heart. So, this picture, Graham Harper, Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant, and Chris Chapman on the location of Revelation of the Daleks there, Collins, in the blue cloak. We had a picture of this being filmed. We couldn't quite make out Nicola, could we, a few weeks ago? But there they all are. And sure enough, this is from one of the special features. There's so much on this set. Obviously, we have Colin and Nicola. Their appearances are scattered across this set, as is the fearsome Lord Grade, who at the time was simply Michael Grade, the controller of BBC One. that's probably a story for another time. But he does contribute to this box set.
Excellent. Well done, Michael, for doing that. I'm really pleased he is. Really pleased because
and JT, it's right that they ask him to, isn't it? It's
absolutely. I mean, he was for many of us at the time, myself included, the devil incarnate. Let's face it. But hindsight and age and time moves on, as you said, and healing happens. And now that we're old and of a certain time, you can look at that series of Doctor Who, as Simon said, and said that series 22 was the beginning of the end. You can see it in some of the stories. You can see the way it was going. The 45-minute segment did not work for it at all. And he is important. He made a decision to axe the show, then backtrack on it because we all went, and said, no, it's only hiatus.
We reared up, didn't we?
And we have to have his point of view because in hindsight, it's arguable, and some fans will debate this to me until they're blue in the face, he was possibly doing the right thing, because if he wasn't prepared to invest, take it off for a little while.
Yeah.
And he wasn't prepared to put the money in, was he? So I'm really interested to see what Mr. Grade has to say.
He's interviewed by, I think it's Matthew Sweet, but so is Colin Baker. A big interview with Colin Baker is obviously the centerpiece of this set. But there's also making of documentaries for such as the Two Doctors and that nostalgic trip with Colin and Nicola back to several of the locations. To many of the stories that are in the box set, it looks like they're having an absolute riot making this. We've got also contributions from Terry Malloy, who played not just Davros, but in Revelation of the Daleks, he was also in Attack of the Cybermen, wasn't he? So he's on this set, taking part in Behind the Sofa, along with Peter Davison, Janet Fielding, Sarah Sutton, Wendy Padbury, and Sylvester McCoy. This is Simon's favourite feature. He goes straight to those every time. There are 3 full-length in conversation documentaries on this set. There are extended episodes of Vengeance on Varos, and part 1 of the Two Doctors is extended. There is a version of A Fix with Sontarans, the what we could call a minisode there on this set in whatever form. We're not certain for the obvious reasons with the Doctor and Tegan. We've got updated special effects. Problem being, we've got updated special effects on Timelash. # Justice for Timelash.
I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully the tinsel's gone, Simon. Do you know what I mean? Because do you remember that Saturday night on those 2 episodes when you saw that thing? And that I was 15 and I'm looking at that going, they really do not have any money. That's a polystyrene wool and tinsel left over from Christmas. Exactly. That's when I suddenly realized, as a 15-year-old, something's got to be done with the money on this show now.
But for Lee, it won't be the tinsel he'll be looking at in Timelash. I'll say that. He'll like the updated features on a certain somebody, won't you, probably?
Problem is the tinsel's on this thing where they go into the Timelash, and that just
I've seen it. It's terrible.
If anybody's read Glenn McCoy's book, the Target book, oh my god, that would have been a much needed improvement. But there you go, when you haven't got any money, you haven't got any budget to worry about. Such a shame.
Robert,
but you're right, Simon. The last season of its type, isn't it? It really is. It changes all in, and we're still feeling it today.
With the film sequences as well. I mean, apparently some of the film elements for this haven't been located. They haven't been able to secure them for this set. They're in the hands. In the hands? What am I talking about? They're in the hands of a private collector, Simon, which is a shame, isn't it?
Well, really? Heartbreaking is that I think it was for one of the season 22 stories. It was either Attack of the Cybermen, Vengeance on Barros. Sorry, not Vengeance on Barros. Mark of the Rani, where the BBC had everything of that entire story, all the film sequences, all the studio stuff, and it got junked. They junked.
I haven't heard this before. They junked that. I mean, John had preservation orders on everything.
Yeah, well, it was at that point. It was at that point that they put the preservation orders on, I think, and said,
"Oh, is that when right? Okay."
Well, now it gets junked because they realised they'd lost a huge.
What a shame!
I know, isn't it?
I mean, I still go around sometimes. When I'm on my bike or I'm walking down the street or something like that. The opening bars of the beautiful score from Mark of the Rani still in my head today. That beautiful opening, absolutely gorgeous. Set the scene. Good old-fashioned set the scene Doctor Who. Stunning. Can't wait to see that on Blu-ray.
That is Sarah Hellings there, the director of...
Oh, is that who that was? I thought it was John Pertwee.
What seems to be a tractor there with Colin and Nicola. It looks like everybody is having fun, sort of, I think. But
I think it's fear, actually, Dan. I think that's fear in Nicola Bryant's eyes.
The Colin Baker Years VHS release is on that in full.
At least it's not Colin driving.
Radio serial Slipback. We've got some exclusive convention footage with Colin Baker and the much missed Jacqueline Pearce.
Which convention is it? Does it say, Dan? Does it say which convention it is?
Obviously, she was a guest star in The Two Doctors so memorably, and her contribution to this set would have been obviously absolutely gorgeous. But bless her heart, I think everybody misses Jacqueline Pearce, don't they? But it's an 8-disc box set. Vanessa Laws just asked, what's the date for this release? Yet we don't have one officially. I'm here in late March.
Yes.
So I'll expect it around mid-April. It is available to...
what they've started doing, of course, just to let you know.
We've spoken about this, but we expect it every day.
They're not putting the dates out officially now because they've had problems in the past and they don't want the backlash anymore. But Dan's right. We have heard it's going to be the late March if everything goes to plan, which I'm sure it will because the country's getting back to some sort of regularity now. So you might just find it popping through your postbox.
As always, though, with this set, increasingly, I think it started out as a minor thing. They would put these trailers out for the set. Initially, I believe the actors weren't in character, but it's become the done thing now that they are. That we got one with Bonnie Langford as Mel when it came to season 24, and we've had Louise Jameson sort of hunting down Vox robots and things, haven't we? And we've had Katie Manning play Joe Grant, alongside the gentleman who played Cliff in that, whose name escapes me at the moment. I'm sorry, because he's, this man's a major part of the Doctor Who community. Stuart Bevan, of course, it's Stuart Bevan. And we did get another one of those for this, yet again, written and directed by the showrunner of the brilliant Wentworth and writer of some Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who episodes. But don't hold that against him. This man Wentworth is a brilliant show, and he clearly loves his classic Doctor Who, and yet again he supplies this, I call it a minisode, because it is effectively 5 minutes of brand new Doctor Who, Simon, with a break in the middle where they do a more of a conventional trailer. But this is dramatized Doctor Who that brings back I'm gonna call her a legend, JT, I'm sorry, one legendary Doctor Who cast member in particular. Did you get the tingles when you saw her?
It's Beryl Reid, is it?
I did. I got the tingles when I saw her. I just thought it was fabulous. I mean, I've seen lots of comments, quite fair comments, where they say, "Look, this trailer would have made more sense for season 23." Yeah, okay, you're quite right. It would have done, but it doesn't matter. It's still beautiful to see Nicola given the spotlight, give her moment, and I just love that little turn at the beginning where she's giving it all the Shakespearean gravitas that she can, and then she just turns on a sixpence and turns back into Perry again, and it's just lovely. It's a beautiful moment. I just thought it was lovely. There we are. That's the moment, Dan. We should just said, oh great! It's lovely. I loved it.
You know what?
We get to spend another 4 or 5 minutes in the. We get to spend another 4 or 5 minutes in the company of Purpa Gilliam of the Brown, JT, don't we? Back in character for the first time in 35 years.
We do. I mean, not taking anything away. I never really liked Perry. Didn't really take to her. But what got me about the trailer was it's that bloody room again in Cardiff. Come on, please. Stop using the same location. That's another reason to get out of Cardiff. I know they're not, but please give us something different.
Bloody room. They shouldn't keep. They should. In all seriousness, it's the only thing that marred this for me, and it's marred successive episodes of Doctor Who, even in the Moffat era, that they keep going back to this location because it is so recognisable, isn't it, Charlotte? At the time in 2005, it looked like something new and fresh, but now we've seen it over and over again. I know it's just a puff piece, really, but it breaks the spell a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, especially as it sort of has this sort of air of mystery, just the idea of like she appears and she's sort of like, where's she been? And that's what the sort of the younger soldier, I'm guessing he is, asks her. So yeah, it's going for that air, and then you go, oh, I've seen that location about 20 odd times now, and I can like in my head visualize other scenes. I think that's the problem. You sort of makes you think of other things. But no, I really love this trailer. And it just, without talking too much about the current era, I can't understand how Pete McTeague can make these trailers as good as he does. And then you watch some of his Jodie stuff, and it's almost like a different person. Has done the Jodie episodes, but it's still Pete, because he's obviously talented.
Well, it might well have been, because you look at his stuff in things like Discovery of Witches, and he's worked on that before. But you've got to remember he would have been working with CC.
Oh
Blast
yeah, but
from the Past says the new trailer is just self-indulgent fantuggery. What?
I love that.
Dare you?
Oh, that's fabulous. I love
it. Absolutely is.
That word now.
I'm having that fantuggery.
It absolutely is Blast from the Past, and all the better for it. It may not be to everybody's taste, but I think it's only 4 or 5 minutes. A bit of indulgence is fine, isn't it, Simon?
Well, I think so. It's not doing anybody any harm. It's not kind of canon. We're not putting it up there as anything other than it's great.
It's a bit of fun. It's a sell, isn't it? It's a lovely sell, and it works, because yet again, I'd like to say to the team that produced these Blu-rays, congratulations. Season 22 is #1 in the Amazon TV chart. It is #2 in the Amazon drama chart, and it is #5 in the general DVD and Blu-ray. So yet again, another Doctor Who season box set has gone straight in at #1. I feel like pop pickers now, top of the pops, but it does, and I like things like that. So congratulations once again to the team putting these gorgeous box sets together. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Speak volumes. What can't speak can't lie. And everybody's noticed in the chat too, watching on YouTube and Facebook, just how lovely as ever Nicola Bryant looks. I mean,
she's looking stunning, isn't she? Well done, Nick.
I've always loved her. She's I won't say her age actually, but she's been so involved with the Doctor Who community, and I mean, 35 years, she's never distanced herself from it. She's had a very long career, and seen her in plenty of other things. Perry is a character that was, how can I put this?
Mishandled.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and you could say that she came out of the show and the role with every reason to want to put a lot of distance between her and it, but she never has. And I was really impressed with how she slipped back into this, and how believable she was, that this was the same woman. The way she spoke, she's still audibly American, but obviously mature, changed by experiences. This is real.
Being married to Yaganov, that certainly would have changed anyone, wouldn't it?
But I felt like there was
she wasn't in a wheelchair for crying out loud.
Like there was character development between every single line of this really quite small presentation. Beautifully done, delightfully played, really evocative. And I just really liked it. And I have to wonder if these things are going to keep, if they're going to be mainstays of the set, are they going to keep getting better and better? Because there's only so much they can do. There's a budget to them, obviously, which could be why they chose the location. So it's better than nothing, and we're lucky to have these things at all. In truth, Pete. So well done.
They are lovely, because they're what Mega Geeky would call memory berries, aren't they? And because these things are aimed at the fan base, and we lap them up, and we love to see them, and it's nice to see a special little story written around some of these characters. There's no harm in it at all, and it's a great way to sell it, because the trailers look fabulous, don't they? They really do, and congratulations to them.
Yeah, I think problem being, I think he did do Kablam, the young lad in there. Richard Brooks, see in the comments, says I think Perry died. So what's going on? Yes, she did die, but then she see it's in season 23. It's revealed then that she didn't die. You obviously didn't get season 23. Richard Brooks, quite understandable. But yes, she's revealed as surviving at the end of season 23.
It is nice to see, though, from that point of view, that like Dan's saying there about Perry, is that this is an older Perry, a more mature Perry, a more experienced Perry. Because one of the reasons I never took to Perry was simply because, as I said before, she was mishandled. She was a whining American waste of time. And I felt, every time I was watching Doctor Who on a Saturday night, I felt for Nicola, thinking, my God, you're not getting any character development. You're not getting any good stuff. You're not being the strong woman that she was in Planet of Fire. She's a spoiled American brat with a whiny accent who doesn't want to be there. If I was the Doctor, I would have taken her home immediately, because she didn't want to be there. And it's nice to see a different
ideally though, JT, that is a good starting point for a character if somebody stays in that place for 2 or 3 seasons, then you've got a problem, and that's where the problem sort of comes from, isn't it? Because we wanted to see her grow, and I'd like to do a deep dive on.
It's one of those things.
I've got to watch how I wear this. I'd like to do a deep dive on Perry
Yeah.
at some point. God,
The problem was though. The problem was with it though, and I'm going to name drop here, Spacebookers, so do forgive me. I actually had this out with JNT once, where I said, "You really, really." Something Perry, and he laughed at me and he said, but he thought at the time, and I knew John towards the end of his life, where he had lots of regrets about Doctor Who. I'm talking a lot of regrets, from Colin's costume to certain other things, and there were a lot of regrets with John at that point of his life when he was looking at Doctor Who and talking about Doctor Who, which he didn't do often. But there were certain things I needed to get off my chest with him. And when we talked about Perry, he said that he at the time thought that confrontation was interesting to the viewer.
Yes.
But with hindsight, he said, I got that spectacularly wrong.
Interesting. Really, really interesting. Yeah, we haven't got a date on this set yet. I have to keep saying, a few people have asked, no official release date, but season 22 of Doctor Who, the classic series of Doctor Who, is coming to Blu-ray as part of the Doctor Who collection later this year. Towards the spring, expect to see that with all those special features and all those Doctor Who legends very much taking part up to their necks in all the silliness. Now, has anybody got a taste for even more nostalgia and even more of the 80s? I think we have to. It's that time to reach over to the bedside table of the delightful Simon Horton there with his multicolored shirt and pick up and flick through the Doctor Who diary. Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. Simon, what have we got in the diary? What have you bookmarked for us this time?
Well, have we even got time to do this? I'm going to have to rattle through this because we're way over time.
We are. And I thought this show would be shorter.
I know.
Going on and on and on. So do you want to do all these, Dan, or shall I just rattle through a few of them? Because we've got that one.
You pick out a couple. Let's leave the gentleman whose let's leave the gentleman whose initials are P and B, because I think that would make a great show another time.
Okay.
I love having it there.
Well, but incredibly, we've got 25 new episodes this week, so we can't possibly talk about all those. There were 25 new episodes this week, amazingly. Just today, you would have been watching Carnival of Monsters episode 1, second episode of the Armageddon Factor, and episode 2 of Frontiers you would have been watching in days gone by. Today, that's just a bigger couple. 54 years ago, today also, since The Enemy of the World, episode 6 from 1968, 54 years ago. This went out, written by David Whittaker, directed by Barry Letts. It was his first role, actually, as a director on Doctor Who. This was for Barry Letts, who obviously became the producer a few years later. And, of course, the last as for Innes Lloyd as the producer. And interestingly, David Troughton is in this particular episode. He plays a guard, and uncredited as a guard in this particular episode from 54 years ago. And the image that we're looking at there is truly, truly stunning. It's another Clayton Hickman colorization of the great Patrick Troughton playing, of course, Salamander in this. For anybody that doesn't know Enemy of the World, Patrick Troughton plays 2 roles in this because he plays the baddie Salamander. And it's an interesting. I mean, I have to be honest. I adore The Enemy of the World, and this obviously came back in 2013. It was recovered in full in 2013, and everybody else was getting all excited about the Web of Fear that had come back. And I must be honest, when I watched the 2 back to back, it was The Enemy of the World that absolutely lit up my world. I found it so much more enjoyable for some reason than the Web of Fear.
It's definitely sort of burrowed its way into people's affections, and this is what the picture we've got on screen now is a colorized black and white picture that I think we'd all seen dozens, if not hundreds of times.
Yes.
And this is the work again of Clayton Hickman, who's colorized it.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that somebody requested that he do this on Twitter, and he obliged, of all the hundreds, probably thousands of Doctor Who pictures that exist in black and white, he
You wouldn't go for
tuned this up. I mean, it's beautiful as well, isn't it?
It is fantastic. It's a magnificent image. So I just like it, Enemy of the World. My favourite little factoid about Enemy of the World is that Colin Douglas, who played Donald Bruce throughout the whole story, apparently hated working on Enemy of the World. He regarded the whole series as very, very low-grade children's fare, well beneath his dignity, reportedly. And he said at the time that it was the worst thing he'd ever done, and he didn't ever want to be asked to appear in the show again. And then a few years later, he came back as Reuben in Horror of Fang Rock. So you go and work that one out. He really kicked up a fuss about how he hated working on it. But
maybe because of that.
Yeah, could be. Could be. There we go. Anyway, moving on. 46 years since one of your favourites, actually, Charlotte, The Brain of Morbius, episode 4. 46 years ago, in 1976, we were just seeing the very end of The Brain of Morbius. 2 million viewers also saw this particular episode that closed out The Brain of Morbius, famously written by Terence Dix. Under the pseudonym Robin Bland, because he was so annoyed at what script editor Robert Holmes did with his script. And amazingly, and your mind just fizzes with the thought of this. Originally, the plan was that Solon would be played by Peter Cushing or Vincent Price. That was the original hope. Can you imagine, JT, Solon played by Peter Cushing? I mean, I love the whole of Brain of Morbius. But Peter Cushing, the thought of Peter Cushing in that role.
I sometimes when I watch The Brain of Morbius, that does come back to me, and I just think, my God, he would have loved it. But guess what? How much would the fans today be twisted in their brains with the canon and the continuity from that casting?
Moving on. 41 years since Warriors Gate episode 4. It's 41 years since we were watching the end of Warriors Gate in 1981. Written the very first script to be written by Stephen Gallagher, of only 2 actually for the show, and the one and only directing job for the great Paul Joyce. One of the true auteurs, I think, that worked on the show. And I think, to be honest, Warriors Gate could potentially go down as one of the most troubled productions in the entire history of the series. It was the script had to be rewritten by Paul Joyce. Paul Joyce then fell out with the lighting director, also fell out with JNT, who sacked him, according to Paul, 3 times. The set of and then invited him back on because nobody else could understand Paul's camera script. The set for The Privateer was condemned.
Well, we shouldn't say too much about this, should we? We should point people in the direction of this instead, shouldn't we?
Go on then. That of course is our interview with the great Paul Joyce. It was a pleasure. We spent 2 hours in the company of Paul Joyce, and it was just a joy to do this.
Lovely, man.
And so go and watch this because Paul is, well, I think we could say, couldn't we, Dan? Paul is not backwards in coming forwards. He is very, very direct. Be warned, there's some colourful language in this podcast from Paul Joyce because he doesn't mince his words at all.
Tom, that's what we want, more truth.
Absolutely, it's a joy. So just go and indulge in a little bit of Paul's wisdom. He's just a joy to spend some time with. So he was a revelation, wasn't he, Dan? So
he really was.
And finally, 37 years yesterday, actually, since Vengeance on Varos episode 2 was screened.
Perfect.
In Perfect timing to talk about season 22. 37 years. Philip Martin, his first script for the show, directed by Ron Jones. Eric Saywood was quite critical of Ron Jones' direction on this as being somewhat lacking. And I kind of know what he means. Vengeance on Varos is far from my favourite story from season 2. I'm really not a big fan. I've never understood what.
I really like it. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't like the way that Vengeance of Varos today has become reality.
Well, of course, this is interestingly, this was originally written. I don't know whether you realise this, JT. It was originally written for 1982, and it got
that far back.
back and put back because while they struggled to get it right. And originally, get this, it was written as pretty much a comedy. So there is black comedy. Yeah, no, there's black comedy within it, but at the time it was written very much as a comedy. And even the infamous acid bath scene, which really became something of a touch point of argument over. It was at this point. Actually, it was this point we just talked about Michael Grade and the cancellation, and it was at this point that they were discussing it during the broadcast of Vengeance on Varos. This was when it was really coming to a head, and the acid bath did cause so much problem. Where for people that don't know it, there's a couple of guards that fall into the acid bath, and there was controversy. Had the Doctor pushed them in, and unfortunately, there is a very unfortunate line at the end of it that's a joking line that doesn't really help matters.
Very Bond, though, isn't it? I mean, the decision had been made the year before, really. You know,
I don't have a problem with it. Famously, of course, it's Nabil Shaban is the real star of this show.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Nearly wasn't. The character of Syl was originally written as a secondary character, and it was going to be the governor that was the main baddie, and it was Eric Saywood's suggestion to switch them around, and that's what brought Nabil up to the fore. And if it hadn't actually been, it was Martin Jarvis's wife that suggested casting Nabil Shaban. They were struggling to find somebody for Syl, and it was Martin Jarvis's wife that remembered working with Nabil Shaban. And
Grand Moff Miranda asks here, is that guy next to Colin Adrian from Bread? But it isn't, is it? It's a very famous.
It's Jason Connery, as you'll see from the cast list there, son of the great Sean Connery. I think we can honestly say that he doesn't act quite as well as his dad. But,
he always had a something, didn't he? And this was before he took the lead of Robin of Sherwood around a year before. Yeah. And, I mean, this is another reason why, I mean, when you talk about that this could have been a Davison story, I can't imagine Davison and Jason Connery in the same story.
No, it would have been very, very different. There's no two ways about it. Interestingly, Nicola Bryant says this is her favourite story. She loved it. I can see why. She got sort of very bad reaction to the feathers that are stuck all over her. And my favourite little factoid from this one is that eagle-eyed viewers, when you're watching your season 22 box set, and bear in mind by now it will be in HD, so you'll really be able to see this. Hanging from Nicola's belt, you will see occasionally, you'll see a little abacus.
Yes.
Yeah. At some point through the story, it switches for a little train. And the reason apparently for that is because, believe it or not, somebody broke into Nicola's changing room at one point during production, stole the abacus, and also stole shoes and underwear.
Rabbi,
that was my first thought.
So somewhere
out there, whereabouts, Rabbi,
eBay, you might see popping up on eBay some Nicola Bryant underwear. Believe it or not.
On that bombshell, Simon, thank you so much for putting the diary together this time. Fact after fact after loads I didn't know about these pivotal stories from my childhood. I wonder if she ever had them returned. We'll never know until the book comes out.
BBC.
Thanks again, Simon. Okay, so we're back with Type 40 Live once again, overrunning as only we can do, but with more stuff to talk about. If you're game, so are we, and so is he. We're joined by directly from the chat the man who knows, as we've just found out, he knows his organs from his cabinet. Oh, you know where I'm going with this. Let's just bring him on. Musical genius, artistic genius, and the ever verbose, the lovely Mr. Problem Being Lee. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Can I just say,
belatedly.
Happy New Year, and may I just say, actually,
yes,
Jason Connery, topless, chained up.
What's it like?
What? Exactly.
Good memories then, because you're a child of the 80s as well, aren't you, Lee?
Oh yes. Yeah, I think that's his best story, really, Vengeance on Varos. And still, I remember being absolutely blown away by watching that disgusting character. Just being absolutely enthralled by him. Absolute genius casting and a great villain. You know, I think he should be back. I'd like to see Syl back.
Well, I mean, we spoke to Keith Barnfather in the wake of his triumphant Syl Blu-ray that came out, I think, about 2 years ago now. You know, they successfully recreated that character so well, obviously on a budget. But I still find it hard to understand why, when we have an actor so identified with a part like that and a new series which is crying out for, I think, memorable characters, whether they've been in it or not before. I don't know why they haven't looked him up. I don't know why they've got not
representation
re-engaged.
right there, guys.
I suppose so, but I just think he's a wonderful, wonderful actor, and it's a character that
JT's like,
could be brought back to the screen.
This sort of fan wank conversation.
But it's a character.
Let's bring back a character from 1985.
But it's a character. But JT, is it any different to telling a story involving Macra? Because as a corporate, literal corporate slug, telling stories about people like that, it's probably more applicable than ever. I don't know. Maybe one day we will get that, but we are back in the 21st century firmly now. I wanted to talk for a couple of minutes.
Go back to
I
the
know. I'm a bloody troublemaker, aren't I? Obviously, Russell T Davies is coming back to the show. He is working with, rather than they're working for him, Bad Wolf Productions on bringing back Doctor Who to the screen for the 60th anniversary year and forward. Some of us are excited about that. Some of us aren't. Some more than others. That's to be expected. I understand Charlotte. She's so excited. She's going to bounce, haven't you? There's only so much excitement that anybody can take in one evening, isn't there?
Well, you've replaced one queen with another, as Lee knows what that joke is.
See what the homophobia I have to deal with here.
That's a joke between me and Lee. He knows why I said it.
That's true.
Thank you so much, as always, Charlotte. We
See
have
you,
had
Charlotte.
fun.
Bye,
everybody.
bye, Mum. Ma'am.
Okay, so Russell, we have Julie Gardner. Thanks for coming back to Doctor Who, Julie. Please save Doctor Who for us. We've got Julie Gardner back. We've got Jane Tranter back. We've got Russell T Davies on the bench, and now we have this guy too. This is Phil Collinson. Everybody, now we all know
back as well. Don't forget
Andy Pryor. Andy Pryor is ubiquitous, though, isn't he? In the entertainment industry, he is a casting agent everywhere on everything. So to see him attached to Doctor Who again, I don't think it was a big surprise. Whereas Phil Collinson, I feel a bit stupid, Lee, that I was so surprised to see Phil Collinson back on the bench for series 14, sorry, but he is there. He is going to be working on it. The series is, I think, still some way out of entering actual production. But Phil was the producer, wasn't he, right the way through the Russell T Davies, the original Russell T Davies era, from 2005 certainly to 2008 on the regular episodes. And he's going to be reuniting with Russell and Jane on the new material that's currently listed on his own independent industry. I suppose it's kind of like LinkedIn, isn't it, for the TV and film industry? Yeah. It's currently listed as in development, not in production, and there's a big difference, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's almost interchangeable, isn't it, these days? I mean, at this time, currently in development means I'm just writing it, but I suppose because he's a producer, you can't really start being in production until you've got a producer in place.
He's one of the producers. I think there's 2 or 3, and he's one of them. But generally the in development does mean they are just starting. I mean, this is them starting to get the team together that's going to put the show going. I mean, Russell says he's got outlines and stories. Doesn't mean anything's fixed yet, does it? No. So I mean, all those fans that are saying, and again, it's certain YouTubers that will say, oh, they start filming in March, they start filming in April. Not necessarily. If they're only just getting through on the development now and bringing the team in. I mean, we've just heard that Scott Hancock is joining the team allegedly as script editor. So they're still getting the behind the scenes stuff. You got to have a production team and a production unit before you can start filming the blooming thing.
Yeah, still writing it, aren't they?
Well, I think so.
Who
I mean, I know
knows?
that Russell's got several scripts that he's sort of hammering into shape, and I suspect that we may well get confirmation of who'll be writing others, who'll be in the writers' room.
If it's a series, Dan, it might not be a series, Daniel. It might be a one-off. We don't know yet. They're not telling us anything.
Very true. So, who is Phil Collinson? Everybody, he was born in 1970. He's a British television producer, initially an actor before he went to work behind the camera. And he's, I suppose you could say now, 25 years on shows such as Spring Hill, Emmerdale, Peak Practice, all of those. And what was that supernatural show in Scotland? Sea of Souls.
Sea of Souls. Wonderful. The first series of that.
It was on Spring Hill. Spring Hill, that crazy Liverpudlian weird soap with the witch in it and things.
I think that may have been where he first crossed paths with Russell, because I think Russell.
I love that show.
Russell worked on the other show, which was called. It was called something biblical, like Revelations. There was a couple of shows on Sky that were kind of soaps. Does anybody remember those?
No.
I only remember Spring Hill, and no one else seems to ever remember it.
No, that's a new one on me. Can't remember that at all.
I've never seen it, but I was aware of it. But I was.
It was really kooky, really strange. It was like a regular soap, but it had like this sort of supernatural element to it, which was just like, what is going on? It was great. It was really good, really creepy.
Of course, he left Doctor Who at the latter episodes of Russell T Davies' Doctor Who's. The episodes kind of moved over. They had several producers, just as you described there, JT. So I understand that Susie Liggett took over a lot of Phil's duties on some of the later ones, but he went on directly afterwards, from 2010 to around 13, 14, he was on Coronation Street, which was a big signing for him to be on that show. And he really shook that show up for several years. But more recently, he's been working with BBC America on a show called The Watch, which is a fantasy show based on a Terry Pratchett concept or actual book. And of course, this time last year, he was on It's a Sin with Russell T Davies again, directing Daleks and producing Daleks. So I do wonder if between them, they may have hatched this whole thing between them back when they were filming It's a Sin, which would
I don't think so.
Before, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think so. Not that. I mean, bearing in mind that earlier last year, Russell said when he was asked, "Would you write again for Doctor Who?" He turned around and said, "No, because I don't even know what Doctor Who's about anymore."
But having said that, I mean, the rumor that there was some sort of behind the scenes thing going on with RTD wanted to wrestle control of Doctor Who. That was a rumor that came about from a source that Noel from TARDIS Zone came out with.
Yeah, I'm going to dispute it because we knew. I don't believe it. We knew at the time from people that we know that BBC Studios had gone in after the Chibnall first series and were looking at options and doing things. And I can't see them going anywhere near Bad Wolf or Russell that early last year. For It's a Sin, I think that would have come along after. And again, we might know one day, but at this time, I think no.
It'll be interesting to find out. I mean, this will all come out eventually, won't it? So it'll be interesting. To see
it might do.
I should imagine.
I was thinking about that the other day, Lee. I was thinking, no, well, this time around it's different because, as I've said before on this show, we're dealing now with two private companies. They don't have to give us anything anymore. The BBC would because they were license fee paid. Now it's two private companies. The rules have changed. They might decide that they don't want to give us all that stuff for another 40, 50 years.
I imagine RTD will write an autobiography at some point.
I would think so. I would think so. Because they've been through this route before and because they are fans, I think they will give the benefit of the doubt and say, here's the story of it, here's the context. But I think we'll be waiting a while. Yeah, we've got to remember that they don't have to now. The rules have changed now.
I like Robert Payne's comment here in the chat. In development equals having a bit of a think, Simon.
Yes, that's brilliant. I was chuckling to myself at that one. Well said, Rob.
Panic.
keep the comments coming. Yeah, keep the comments coming. What else? Yes, we've got Night All there from Charlotte. Because with Phil in place, obviously Russell in place, Julie's there, Phil there. Again, it's not unreasonable. This is the only guy who is missing from the bench. David Tennant.
Thinking with all this, my heart is just thinking. I was against Russell T Davies coming back to begin with, and I'm just like, this is just feeling like a retread. This is not what I signed up for. I'm sorry.
It could be. I mean, if they are actually going to go down this road, it is purely, I would say, for the American audience to get that crowd back on board again.
Would they go for Matt Smith though if it was the American audience, Lee?
Maybe, but I think because Tennant, maybe in retrospect, once people got into the show, Tennant was also a huge hit as well. So I imagine it would be someone like him who would be a draw for them. And I that's my cynical side coming out. I think that might be.
Yeah. It's like I said, I don't know if you were with us at the beginning of the show, Lee, but I did. I'll challenge that because it's important that it's a hit again now in Britain. And one of the things they will have to do is make the show huge in Britain because it's got to help the BBC. We know, as we said, that the BBC is now in trouble. Their days are numbered. I don't care what anybody says. The license fee is going, and Doctor Who could be the draw to bring people back. I mean, there's a lot riding on this. If this show is huge again with the right actor, the right scripts, the right budgets, the right look, engaging stories, and it's a hit in Britain, it might just help to justify, well, look, pay the license fee. We won't get into all that now. But you've also got the added bit to be able to say it's not just America you've got to focus off. You've got to have that global audience. These two private businesses will want this to work so they make money. So, but I think that the home territory, that is the biggest one. We've got to bring not just the great British public back, but the fans. They know full well we've gone, we've left.
Well, my choices.
Yes, I do, and I agree with that. I agree.
Michael Sheen or Aneurin Barnard.
Aneurin Barnard, yeah.
I'm just amazed that you can pronounce that. Aneurin Barnyard, was it?
Barnard.
Yeah, Barnard. Okay, I'm
huge
going to remember
talent.
that.
Beautiful talent.
I would say the David Tennant thing, as my week has rolled on, I was expecting every day I woke up, Simon, because I do share, when it comes to, I don't share your general fatigue about the general lay of the land. But when it comes to David Tennant, as much as I like him and liked his turn in the show, I do. I'm not saying I'm not interested and I wouldn't watch. Of course I would, and I'm sure I would enjoy it. But I feel the same way you do. But as the weeks rolled on, every day I have turned on my phone or my computer or whatever else, I've expected this story to vanish, and it hasn't. It's kept rolling on. Everybody has put out their opinion about it. Everybody's commented. It's made its way from social media, as we saw, originating on Facebook, to local press with the Plymouth Herald, to the mainstream media, and then sweeping across social media, other platforms such as Twitter, which obviously the conversation is very fast and how can I put this? Dysfunctional, often reactionary, and lunatic in many respects. But it's all over there being picked over. But what really made my radar was Richard Arnold, who's the entertainment correspondent on Good Morning Britain. He's always been a big advocate of Doctor Who, right since Russell T Davies brought it back in 2005. He's always been in Doctor Who's corner, along with people like Jenny Falconer and Joe Wiley. He's one of those people who's always been there. And he commented about this because he'd been, he was on, I think it was Good Morning Britain itself, and he said that he'd been trying to get to some of the truth of this. And he said, I had the head of press for EastEnders and Doctor Who over for Sunday lunch yesterday, and she wouldn't be drawn to even talk about it. I topped up her liqueur for hours and made her a spectacular lamb shoulder, but still no joy there for Richard over the old Sunday lunch. But the truth of the matter is, whether we're talking about over lunch or over social media, expecting anybody involved, either from the BBC or from Bad Wolf or even from David Tennant himself, to discount this pretty outlandish rumour.
Well, they're going to milk it for everything it's worth, aren't they?
Of course they are. They're recovering as a show, and Doctor Who is recovering as an intellectual property from 6 weeks of damage done.
3 years.
By airing yet another abysmal run of Whittaker and Chibnall episodes. And so why, when everybody, when I say everybody, I don't mean literally, of course I don't, but when everybody is talking about Doctor Who for the right reasons, with enthusiasm and warmth and hunger, why would you shut down conversation and hashtag around your IP, JT?
I don't. I think we're going into Fantasy Island again here. The whole thing about this right now is,
saying there's truth in it. I'm saying that they're enjoying the circus of it, and they're going to
I don't know if they will
as Lee was saying.
the show right now is in production. It's in development. They've got better things to do than worry about it. Yes, it must upset them when they see these things on television in the morning, or they see the papers, and they must go, "Oh my God," because it's something else they've got to worry about and address. But the other thing about it right now is they've got a job to do and a time scale in which to do it, and a lot of work to do. And I know I can say from my point of view, people that would normally, and I hope that's not one of them, people that would normally be able to tell me about certain things know nothing. And I'm talking about people that know. They know nothing about this because the rules have changed. The elements, we don't know whether everything's going to go into Bad Wolf or if there will be certain elements of studios that will stay indicated in there. It's possible that, you know, the marketing will be done by the Bad Wolf team, who are far better than that lot that are doing the current BBC nonsense. You know, at least they're sort of mature and they're not coming out of high school. So you've got all that element there. But it's interesting, you know, because nobody knows anything. And this is one of the things I'm respecting in a sense, because it suggests to me they're just getting on with the bloody job.
Maybe. Obviously, we'll know sooner rather than later. I mean, maybe David Tennant will speak on this at some point. He's not on social media himself, but Georgia Tennant is, and she's been quite playful about it. So how does David Tennant feel? I don't know. I think it's anyone's guess.
He's sneering at my pronunciation of, apparently it's Anirin Barnard. So apologies to the Welsh mob.
If Georgia's been playful, I think that says volumes, personally.
At the risk of having your head in your hands again, JT, because the last thing I want to do is give you a sleepless night. I just want to top that off with the news that, yesterday, from the same source, the Plymouth Herald, they were going with the fact that Catherine Tate could also be back as Donna Noble.
No surprise there, then, is there? Really? I mean, that's basically gonna happen.
Could they be chucking this stuff out just to, you know, to gain, you know, like a weather vane? I mean, maybe they're feeding this stuff out just to see how people will react to, you know, to things. And
that's an interesting point.
It's an interesting point, but why bother? I mean, these are industry professionals who know the routine now. I mean, you know, I mean, why would you when you've got a job to do? This is really important. This is a really important job they've got. They've got to fix this show.
The most important casting since Troughton, I'd say. You know, really,
perhaps.
And so that's why, you know, there might be some reality in the thought that perhaps they are just sort of dipping their toe in the water just to see what the kind of reaction is. Because I know what you're saying, JT. They are professionals, but I can't imagine that they aren't very, very nervous with what.
It is a tightrope walk.
You know, and Russell particularly, because his entire reputation now, which he spent a few years building very, very successfully, well, a couple of decades, it now hangs on the next.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
he's really got to get this right, or his whole career kind of plummets.
Totally agree. I mean, it's certainly his. You know, if the next series is tick boxing like we've just had, and I'm concerned that possibly it could still be, because of where Russell Dr. T. Davis actually is personally. You know, I think it's going to be gone. That'll be Doctor Who gone. It'll be gone, but so will their reputation, and that's something I'm counting on Bad Wolf not wanting after the quality they've been producing for the last few years. But also BBC Studios have that financial element in there as well. They have to have a show that is selling enough for them to justify possibly supporting or whatever that's going to happen with the license fee. And I do believe that Doctor Who has to be a strong element of that mix to say to all ages of people, come back, please come back.
This has to be a fundamental change. And I would say, you know, there's a lot of talk about this is going to be radically different, and you know, and I would say to be radical in this day and age would be to do the same thing and to make Doctor Who more traditional against all these woke critics who will go diversity and all this stuff. They need to hunker down and expect the storm. It will kick over. It'll be fine, and just stick to what we know the public really want, which is a male doctor and everything to sort of drop the politics. You know, like Terence Stick said, if you're looking at the politics and not the story, you're not looking at the right aims. And
absolutely.
There's an argument that says that conservatism with a small c, is the new counterculture. And I think that dialing back on some of that you just described, repositioning, refocusing that character within this brand is absolutely essential. Maybe, just maybe, in 2 years we'll look back and laugh on all these, rumors. And I am very sympathetic towards that. Vanessa Law says, "No, please, a clean slate is what required. What's required." Yes. I agree with you, Vanessa, for the most part, but there is one figure of, say, a Scotsman with slightly wild white hair and a guitar maybe across his back. I would be happy if we were dialed back to that point, but I think that could be asking a little.
They won't do that. Yeah, they won't do that.
Castles in the clouds, I'm afraid.
Yep. Here's something before we all toddle off. I've got something here. I was mentioning that the classic series, the Series 22, has done very well in the charts. Here's the other side of it, because just released this week as well, of course, whether you like it or not, has been the Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall latest series, Flux. I can't remember what number that is in the series. What series is that now? I can't remember.
13.
Well, I would just like to say congratulations to them, because Doctor Who Flux on DVD on Monday went straight in at number 1 in Amazon's romance chart. It is currently number 2 in Amazon's romance chart and number 30 in the Blu-ray chart as a whole. So well done for hitting Amazon's romance. That shows you what Badwolf and BBC Studios have to do. It's not a bloody romance show. It never was. It never should be. I have no idea why it's there in the romance chart. I am dreading to think, because my mind's going overwork with all this nonsense. But,
can we just say as well? That if you're going to have a romance between the Doctor and Yaz, would it be appropriate really for this guy to out a closeted homosexual or bisexual to the person that she fancies? Isn't that a bit problematic?
Please tell me that's not where they're going in the show, because if that's why, I am not surprised that the public have left it even more so, because that Russell, get over any politics you've got here. The Doctor's asexual. He's a Time Lord from the planet of Gallifrey. Bring him back. Let's have him back in his TARDIS fighting the Daleks.
The Doctor. If we can't have a past Doctor, bring back a Doctor we can recognise and get behind for the future going forward. Doctor or no Doctor. Robert Payne says, "Oh, Flux, the Doctor Who spin-off. I think that there is a danger that it all does, in hindsight, seem like a spin-off now." Everything that you've just described there, that is happening in the show. Check out the Type 40.
Oh no,
review.
I don't want to. No, I can't. Oh God,
the Type
really?
40 review of Eve of the Daleks, which is on the way. People are reeling from the news of its of the success. Obviously, congratulations, I suppose. That's the kind of success you want. People are reeling from that in the chat here on YouTube. Duncan Shaw says romance is so mushy. Of course,
I don't know about metadata to get it in that chart. I mean, really.
It's shocking, isn't it? I didn't even know that Amazon had a romance chart, but I love doing all these little things for you guys and finding that out. But I'll tell you something, everybody, Spacebookers, there's only one muff I'm interested in, and it's this one. It's lemon muffin, and excuse me. I'm a little bit hungry.
Well said. I think from one pretty picture, the sight of JT scuffing down a muff, to some more pretty pictures and some of the most gorgeous Doctor Who art that has drifted our way through the ether onto the Pretty Pictures gallery this time. This is kind of related to current Doctor Who, but it's not. It's actually pointing back somewhere nice, Simon. You're going to love this. This piece of artwork, it's by the veteran artist and illustrator Daryl Joyce. I think a great many of us have followed his career over the last 2 decades, and this is a new piece from Daryl, inspired by, obviously, these creatures are returning to the show sometime at Easter in the next special.
Already.
But Daryl has come back, isn't it? back to 1973 to offer us this.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, now that's Doctor Who, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's what
gorgeous.
Doctor Who is all about. That's fantastic.
I'd love to see Devils. What a story that is.
Yeah, and he's captured it so well, hasn't he? The
Look at Delgado's expression. Oh, I love
it. Perfect.
Just the one eyebrow slightly cocked up there, and
you know, these would make Daryl. Let's pitch for you. These would make great postcards for the Blu-ray box sets, wouldn't they? What they should have thought. Remember, they used to do that with the VHS years ago.
Oh yeah.
Remember,
Colin Howard used to do a lot of those.
Colin used to do them for a whole couple of years. Remember,
people in the chat are loving this. We've got a big wow from Lord Thoth. Good to see you, Lord Thoth. Thanks for your support.
Hi, Lord
As
Thoth.
always, top guy. Oh, well done, Daryl, says Robert Payne. Looking good, Delgado, adds Vanessa. Classic story, Sadako24 says. Absolutely right.
It is a classic story. One of the best.
Classica, gorgeous art, says Crimpling Doubloon, and simply a wonderful there from our friend Richard Brooks. It is. I mean, Daryl is a traditional artist. I think we do see some strings there that he's pulling really, really nicely on. I think he uses digital elements somewhere just to tune things up. But it's just beautifully judged.
So much talent. We've said this before. There's so much talent in our fandom, and when you see things like that, you just think, why doesn't somebody help them to get a coffee table book out or some merchandise from it? Because this
calendar,
gorgeous, isn't it? The calendars, yeah. I mean, Andrew and Chris did very well at the calendars.
There's so many brilliant calendars that you could have, and instead we get those bland.
It's criminal. It's criminal that the BBC has this wealth of talent and creativity in this fandom, and then they put out such tosh. And it's embarrassing when you look at that, the branded stuff coming out, and you look at the stuff that's coming from the fandom, and you're thinking, what are they afraid of?
Yeah.
What are they afraid of?
Absolutely. Danilo, Daryl for the calendar for next year, the 60th anniversary calendar. Don't just give us your usual tosh. Come on, Danilo. We know you've got it in you. Speak to
I just want
Daryl.
to say hi to Clobby here from Clobbering Times, a
Clobby.
great YouTube channel with a fantastic social media group. Got a lot of time for Clobby. Just love the Sea Devils.
I recognise that little character. What's that?
Thing from the Fantastic Four.
Oh,
Ben Grimm.
right.
Yeah.
And we talk about fan art and the way that it can sort of blend and bend the iconography of Doctor Who. And yeah, I do think the BBC and BBC licensees could be a bit bolder with it. But there are steps, obviously, they can't go as far as our friend Demon Scythe Synthwave here, who puts these out on Instagram, inspired by the classic visage, I suppose you could say, of the TARDIS. This is new from our friend Swapshot Matt on Instagram. You can see all his digital art over. This is just two of a whole gallery full of TARDIS-inspired digital works. Simon, that gets a woohoo from you. Digital art, does this work for you as well?
Yeah, well, I can't actually work out what I'm looking at, but
It's
that's not
AI. That's AI doing its deep thinking, whatever they call it. Yeah, that's all AI interpretation of whatever image he fits in.
Cool.
I don't know what he's done on top of that, but it looks.
That's why I like it, because it's stuff that I'm looking into and trying to work out what it actually is and can't work it out. And so that's cool. It's abstract at the end of the day. It's abstract.
It's abstract, and it's got a kind of acrylic look. He is a really nice guy. It's got an acrylic look to it. Sorry, I think, Lee.
Yeah,
it does. It looks very. It looks like it's very textured with some sort of paint. It's very
Blade Runner as well. Actually,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Very
I mean, we call this segment Pretty Pictures, and they are, aren't they?
They are.
I think so, and it's nice. I mean, yeah, anybody who finds anything out there that you think that we would like, get in touch through our social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who, or over onto Facebook, the Type 40 Facebook page, or simply join the Facebook group and share it to us there if it's your own art. We had some people earlier on in the chat. Carol Jude was talking about T-shirts that she's made. We'd love to see your T-shirts. Send us the links. Anybody who's got something going on, if you're doing it, if you've got a small business or an Etsy shop, or if you're just doing it for pleasure, we'd love to see. Join our community, the Type 40 Facebook group, or get in touch at our social medias, and we maybe even put you in the Pretty Pictures gallery at the same. These are just fabulous as well to finish off with. This is a friend of ours. This is the work of, it's slightly different, Ian O'Brien. This is neither digital artwork nor conventional 2D artwork. This is three-dimensional using props. We saw a little bit of this. I think it was last week we had some of these. This is what people are doing with the action figures. Ian O'Brien runs a Facebook group called Action Figure Scenes, and this is one of his latest sets of work.
Oh,
the Pyramids of Mars.
That's superb.
attention to detail and poise there.
Bizarre. These people take things out of their bloody boxes. What's going on?
They probably buy two of them, JT.
Glass of water for JT.
That's all
glass
right,
of water
I
for
know,
JT,
yes,
please.
please. It's just, oh, God.
So there we have the mummies, of course, from the Pumas of Mars, the classic Tom Baker story. And I love the fact, Simon, that the sarcophagus is open.
Yeah.
And we can
Exactly.
see
And it's got the time tunnel in it. That's brilliant. I didn't realise. I'm assuming that that's how the action figures come.
I think it was.
That's just fantastic. And I love the little canopic jars at the bottom. It's just beautiful. And he's obviously, he's got one of these papyri, which I've got some of these genuine papyrus paintings where we painted gold stuff. That's what that is in the background. And so he's taken that out of a picture frame and he's put that there as the backdrop for the set. It's fantastic, isn't it? Beautiful.
Yeah, really good. Yeah,
it's so much imagination from these people to actually go and I know what I'm going to do today.
What Ian does, he takes figures. If he's going away for a weekend, I don't know if any of you have seen this, because I know that a couple of us. Thank you, Max.
Fulfilling a wish there.
Because yes, Ian is all over social media, and he's a friend of ours. And whenever he goes on holiday, for example, if he goes down to Bree, he'll take action figures with him and go on the sands and create scenes and reenact moments from Doctor Who. And some of them are so nicely done. He chooses locations so well that I can't tell them apart from actual episodes. You're scrolling through, you think, is that? And they go, oh. And this is another image, again from Ian, where he's got Marcus Scarman there. With the old the scroll and the various jars, and Sutek is there in place. Somebody was asking in the chat, "Where's Sutek?" There he is.
There he is.
Duncan Shaw asking, "Where's Sutek?" Yeah,
his eyes glowing green.
And there he's put the old paperback, the Target book there behind, just so we can get a sense of scale there. I mean, it brings it. We were very lucky, I think, with the character range of figures. I mean, the likenesses are beautiful, the colours are often bang.
Still no Jamie.
Still no Jamie.
Apparently, still no Jamie.
Really?
Scott's representation, JT. What do you think? What's going on?
Sorry, I'm getting messages from various Facebookers saying it's bedtime. Yes, we're getting there. Don't worry, we're getting there. No, there is no Jamie McCrimmon action figure, but stay tuned.
We are putting our toys away for another live stream now. That does wrap things up with.
I wonder if they'll, because he's going to be wearing a kilt, and people will be tempted to,
Stop there. Stop.
I don't know what you're suggesting. Absolutely scandalous. Yes, thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening along this time here at Type 40 Live. Again, all the comments, all the interaction. It's been fabulous. We know people have been subscribing, but keep subscribing. If you haven't subscribed by now, please consider it. I think we've earned it, haven't we? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell so you get the notifications about whenever we're doing whatever we're doing next. Type 40 Live will be back next Thursday with a special show. Yes, they're all special shows, Dan. You always say that. But next week, it is our 50th Type 40 live stream here on YouTube. I know. I can't quite believe that either.
50 years of this show, everyone. 50 years.
It's our 50th
Feels
show.
like it.
50 editions of Type 40 Live next Thursday. Got a few things bubbling for all of that. But who knows whether fate and the vortex will provide more insanity for us to chew through for two and a half hours practically every time. I know. We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we have. My thanks, as always, to the glorious JT there in the glorious
Technicolor.
To the delightful, definitely Technicolor original Lunatic, Mr. Simon Horton. Join the Lunatics, of course. Connect with that gentleman. Connect with your inner 80s. Connect with your inner Joseph. And thank you so much for coming. Well, firstly,
in full black and white.
Queen. Thank you, Queen Charlotte. Sorry we had to lose her. We should be back in a few days, I'm sure. And
we know where she is. We haven't lost her. We know where she is. She's she's fine. Don't panic, Facebook. She's okay.
Valiant and patient Charlotte Shields, of course. And thank you to Lee here. Problem being Lou. Yes, to Lou. Yes, Lou. As well. But my thanks here to Lee, and it's ideal opportunity really to say yet again, not to his face, well, sort of to his face, in black and white, to say, yeah, thank you, Lee. Problem being, you provided all of the music. Every note of music that you hear on both Type 40 and Type 40 Live was created by this gentleman. You've got some social media presence. You've got a YouTube channel, haven't you? So run us through some of your contacts. Where can people hear more of your work, connect with you, and just enjoy more of what you've got going on, various projects in development? Because you've always got something going on, haven't you?
I've got a commission I've got to sort out starting this week. I've got to pull my finger out and get on with it. But you can find my work at Aldred Audiovisual, AUDRED, which was my grandmother's middle name, which is very unusual because it's not Audrey, it's Aldred.
Lovely.
So I think it's a king or Anglo-Saxon king name or something. So very unusual, very unusual. So I did that in honor of her, and it's Aldred Audiovisual. And you can find me on the Twitter at Being Problem, and you can follow all views, which are all my own.
It's ridiculous for you. Well done. It is ridiculous that we have to state that in 2022, isn't it, JT? But yeah, it is kind of what we have to go through all the time. Well, that wraps it up this time. So I can't quite believe we've done another couple of hours. But
we are crap at these times. We've got to get better at it. Thank you for sticking with the Space Bookers.
Yeah. Don't forget the Type 40 podcast at the dedicated home feed for Type 40, type40.podbean.com, or across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher.
Eamon Holmes is coming on in a minute, Dan. Hurry up.
All those places for the podcast and here on the YouTube channel too. Reach out to us on the social medias. Of course, you'd be most welcome. Join in, send us your artwork, send us your leads on scurrilous rumours, things you'd like our opinion on. Get in touch with us there. But yes, that is it for this time. Thanks again, gentlemen, and to Charlotte, and thanks to everybody who's been commenting along on YouTube and Facebook. More again next time. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Take care.